Hi, this is Ali Arango of Little Guy CGI, and today I would like to show you how to make a sports car in Blender 2.78C. So let's get started. Okay, if this is your first time in Blender, I recommend you go to File, User Preferences, go to Input, and then choose Select with left click. Blender's default select is with right click, and this may confuse you if you're coming from Adobe programs or other 3D programs. Also, while you're in here, go to add-ons and then put a check mark next to 3D view colon 3D navigation. Then scroll down. Put a check mark next to mesh colon F2, mesh colon inset polygon, mesh colon loop tools, as well as mesh colon relax. Okay, scroll down more. Put a check mark next to Pi menu colon 3D viewport Pi menus. Also put a check mark next to Pi menu colon UI Pi menu official. Okay, in Blender, to rotate your view, if you hold the middle mouse button, you can rotate the view. If you hold shift as well as the middle mouse button, you can pan the view. If you roll your mouse wheel in or roll it out, you can zoom in and out. Also, if you hold control while holding the middle mouse button and then push in with your mouse, you can zoom in, or if you pull out, you can zoom out. Okay, if you look to your left, you'll see a navigation tab. With the navigation tab, you can use the buttons here to quickly manipulate your view inside of Blender. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. When you look here, you can see which mode you're in. Currently, when you start off Blender, you're in object mode. So currently, we're in object mode. In object mode, you can move shapes around. To actually edit your object, you then click and then go to edit mode, which we'll do fairly shortly. Okay, as far as making this sports car, we're going to bring in a reference image. So what we're going to do is we're going to click here to go to front view. You can see which view you're in right here. See, this says front perspective. What we want to do is be in front orthographic view. So see where this says view perspective / ortho. We're going to left click here. Now when we look here, we can see this says front ortho. Orthographic view is kind of like a blueprint view. It lets you see things that are in 3D as if they were 2D, which tends to make things easier to model. Okay, to bring in our reference image, we're going to press the N key to bring up our properties panel. We're going to scroll down. We're going to look to where we see background images, which is right here. We're then going to put a check mark here and then click this black triangle right here. I'm going to scroll down a little bit more. I'm going to look for where it says add image. I'm then going to left click here. Once we left click there, these options open up. We're going to look to where this says open. We're then going to left click on open. I'm going to go to desktop where I have my image. I'm going to click on sport car tutorial. I can see the list view of the image right here. When I click this button right here, it looks like 4 squares. I can actually see the image. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to left click on image and then I'm going to click open image. Okay, this image is the blueprint of a BMW i8 series sports car. So if you search for BMW i8 series sports car, you should pop up with an image similar to this. What's nice about this image is it has a front view, a side view, a top view, as well as a back view. Okay, basically to use this image as a reference, what we want to do is have this image be lined up for each view. So we're currently in front view, so we want to set this image to be set up for front view, and then go through the side view, the top view, as well as the back view. Okay, so how do we do that? We do that because we have multiple controls right here. We can control the opacity, which is basically how transparent the image looks. We can control the size. We have a lot of different controls right here. Now this image is kind of small. I want the image to be actually bigger. Okay, so what I'm going to do is hover my mouse over this edge here. When I do that, you can see that goes, that being my cursor, goes to kind of like a 2 arrow cursor. I'm going to left click and drag. And when I did that, I can see that I have the ability to rotate this image here as well as control the size right here. Okay, what I'm going to do is I want to increase the size of this reference image. So I'm going to click here. And then I have that, 10.0 highlighted. I'm going to enter in 2, 0, and then press enter. So when I did that, the size increased of our reference image. And because I picked the size to be 20, we're going to have to basically bring this image in another 3 times. However, since we know the size is 20, we can easily, get the size up to 20. It's pretty easy to remember, I think. Okay, so now that we have the image being the size that we want, what we want to do is we want to take this image here and we want to have the wheels sit right on this red line right here. This line is going to give us the ability to line up these images the way that we want. So we are in front orthographic view. We want this this part of this image, which is the front of this car, to be centered right here, right? So when we work with the X position, that's left and right. When we work with the Y position, that's up and down. So what I'm going to do is hover here. I'm going to hold shift. By holding shift, I have fine movement. I'm then going to left click and pull to the side. Now I let go of left click. Now I'm letting go of shift. And see this little symbol right here, like actually in between the lights here as well. So in between the lights, you can see, long story short, you can see from here, we are dead center, and that's what we want. So now what we want to do is we want to have these wheels sit right on this red line right here. Okay, what we want to do now is take these tires, put them right on that red line. So I'm going to hover here. I'm going to hold down hold down the shift button. Now I'm holding down the left click button and I'm sliding. Because I'm holding down shift, this is allowing me to move with fine movement. And then right here, I just let go of the left mouse button. I let go of shift, and we can see the tires are sitting right there. As far as see how the cube is blocking out the image, we can actually click front here. And by clicking front, basically what we're doing is we're letting our image be seen through our 3D object, which is right here. Okay, so we have this part of the image that is the front of our car lined up. What we need to do is have this view be just for the front view. So see where it says all views, it being Blender, we're going to click right here, right on these 2 white triangles that are on top of each other. Then we're going to select front. So now when we're in front view, we are in front view, so you don't see any difference. But now when I click right view, left view, and then I go back to front view, now we only see the front view right here. Okay, when we look here, what's nice is, see this red line right here is right underneath this right here. So this is the front view. However, as far as the y-axis, this is already set up for the right view. So let's add in the right view. So what we're going to need to do that is we're going to look right here where this says add image. So we're going to left click, right? When we did that, now we have right here, we have this box that popped up. So what we can do is we can go right to these 2 white triangles. We'll click here. Blender remembers that we're using this blueprint, so we're going to left click, and now this pops in this other image, right? So we know that we want the size to be the same, right, which is 20. So see, this size is 10, which is the original size. So we'll click here, and then we'll type in 20, press enter. So now we have the correct size. So now we see here is our front view, right? It's right on the red line. So we want to grab this setting for our y-axis for the front view. So we'll left click this. When I left click, I have this highlighted. On my keyboard, I'm now holding control, and while holding control, I'm pressing C to copy these numbers here, right? So now what I'm going to do is left click here. I left click, that brought me out of that, slider there. Now I'm going to left click here, and then I'm going to hold control, and while holding control press V. I'm then going to press enter to lock that in. And what happened is this view now is lined up. This view being our side view is now lined up. It's going to be our side view. It's not our side view yet, but it's lined up, with that red line right there. Okay, so now we want this image to only show up when it's in right view. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to where we see this as all views. We're then going to click on these two white triangles, or click on one of the white triangles that are right on top of each other. We're then going to left click for right view. So now you can see just this image. And why can you only see this image? Because this is the front view. So now we click right, and now we can see this other image that we brought in, which is the same image, but it's to Blender, it's another image that has been brought in. That red line is now the green line. However, it's still good because it's still showing that it's right underneath of our tires. Now we just need to line this up so that this car is, this blue line should probably be going about halfway through right here. Okay, so how we move this, what we do is we look, here's the x-axis, here's the y-axis. We first hold shift, so I'm holding down the left shift button, and then I'm going to left click and hold my left mouse click button. Then I'm going to hold to the left. Now let go of the left mouse button. Now I'm letting go of the left shift button. And basically I just put the car so that it is, this blue line is going pretty much through the midway point of this side view right here. Okay, so now we're going to set up the top view. So to do that, we're going to scroll up. So right underneath where it says background images, we see this add image here. So we're going to left click here. When we did that, towards the bottom of this stack of images, we should see a new, panel, which we do right here, right? So what we want to do is we want to click on one of these two triangles, right? Blender remembers this is, the image we're using, so we're going to left click to bring that one back in. That one came in not the right size. When we scroll down, we can see this is 10. However, we have the size that we gave it, which is 20. So we're going to left click here. We're going to enter in 20 and then press enter. So now we have the correct size for this image. Okay, so what we want to do now is make sure that this view is just the top view. So see where it says all views? What we want to do is click on these one of the two white triangles there. And then we just go to top for top view. Okay, so here is our right view. So now what we want to do is, this is our navigation tab we're looking at. We'll click here for top view. Okay, here in the top view, what we want is we want this car to be facing down. So when we look over at our options, now we have this rotation. So what we want to do is click for rotation and enter in -90 and then press enter. And then what that did was that rotated the image so that the front of the car is facing down, which is, what we want it to be doing. Okay, now very similar to before, we have this green line. So we want this green line to be going right through the center of the car. So what we can do is go to this X value, we'll hold down shift, and then while holding shift, I'm going to left click and drag with my left mouse button. And I let go of the left mouse button, and I'm now letting go of shift, and we have this line, going right through the center of our car. Okay, so now when we look at this cube, we can see that, the cube's all the way to the back. So what we want to do is move the car so this cube is more towards the center. So what we're going to do is hold shift, and then while holding shift, I'm going to left click and pull to the right. Now I'm going to let go of left click, and then I'm going to let go of shift. Okay, now with our top view set up, we have one more view to set up. That's the back view. So what we're going to do is scroll to the top of all of these images. So right underneath our background images, we see right here it says add image. We left click to add an image. We then scroll down. And if you get confused as far as the top of an image, you can look for all views and it's like, oh, here it is right here. So what we need to do is we're going to click on one of these two white triangles. Here's our image. Blender remembers it. We're going to left click to bring that in. We'll scroll down. We can see the size is 10. So we'll left click here. We'll change that to 20 and then press enter to lock that in. Okay, so currently we're in the top view. We want to make sure we go to the back view since the top view is very different from the other views. So what we're going to do is we're going to click here and then we're going to go to back view and then left click to go to back view. We're still in top view. So what we'll do is we'll click here and now we are in back view. Okay, so we have this red line right here. We want to make sure that our tires are sitting right on that red line. So we're going to go to our Y value here. I'm going to hold down shift and then while holding shift, I'm going to left click and drag to the right. Okay, I let go of the left mouse button as well as the shift. And we can see we have our car sitting right on top of that red line, which is what we want. Okay, now we want this blue line to be going right through the center of the car. So we're going to left click on, we're going to hold down shift and we're going to hold the left mouse button. We're going to drag to the left. Let go of the left mouse button. Now I'm letting go of shift and now we have our car, right centered on that back view, which is what we want. Okay, now that we have our car reference image for the most part set up, what we want to do is take this cube and have this cube sit right, have the bottom of the cube sit where the bottom of the car is. So I'm going to click here to go to front view. I'm then going to take this manipulator and I'm going to pull the cube up just so that the bottom of the cube is aligned with the bottom of the car. Okay, I'm going to hold shift as well as the middle mouse button to pan the view. Okay, one of the ways you can zoom in to focus on something is if I hover my mouse here, I'm going to hold shift. While holding shift, I'm going to press B. Then you can see that dotted cross symbol pop up. So now what I'm going to do is left click and drag a box right over where our cube is at and where the front reference of our car is at. So then when I let go, Blender automatically zooms in to pretty much show the inside of that box that we just drew out. Okay, as we begin to work on a car, our main concern at first is right here, this part of the car, not the top part. So what we want to do is, currently we're in object mode. When you come into Blender, you're in object mode. With the cube selected, you can tell that the cube is selected because it has this orange outline around it. We want to click here, and then click here to select edit mode. Okay, so I want to grab this top right here and push this down. So what I'm going to do is just hold the middle mouse button. When I hold the middle mouse button and pull my mouse, the cube rotated and our reference image disappeared. That's fine. That's just how we have the reference image set up, and that's how the reference image is set up by default in Blender. It's no big deal. So what we're going to do is press A to deselect. We have our vertices select here, edge select here, face select here. We select vertices, which are these things right here. We select edges, which this right here is an edge by selecting here. We select faces, which is this right here by selecting here. So we're going to click here on face select. We're going to click here to grab the top. Then we're going to click here, which is front view. When we clicked here, we went back to front view, right? So we're back in front view. However, we have that top face now. So because we have that top face and only that top face, we can take our manipulator and just left clicking and then drag this down to right here. Generally, when you're manipulating something in Blender, whether you're trying to move a part of a cube you kind of go, or I think you should kind of move depending on what is, most efficient for the current situation. So currently, what I want to do is I want this cube to come out to the width of this front reference image, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm about to press A in a moment. When I press A normally selects everything in Blender, right? If everything is selected, you press A again, everything is deselected then. Because I have this selected, I press A, now that's not selected. Now I press A a second time, and the whole cube is selected. Okay, so I'm going to press S to scale on the X axis, and I'm just pulling my mouse. And I left click to lock that in, that being, to lock the scale in. Okay, so when we look here, we can see that our cube is a general, width of this front reference image. It also has the height of the car with the exception of the tires and the roof. So now let's go to our right view to see how it is there. So you can see from the right view, we didn't, stretch the car out or scale the car on its y-axis. That's why it still looks like a cube here. So when we click front, we can see it has the width. When we click to the right, we can see that we still need to work here. That's one of the things as you work in 3D. If you're totally new to 3D, typically what you want to do is go, front right, front right, front right, front right, because in 3D in the front view it looks like hey, we're good. And then you click the right view and you can see obviously things need to be adjusted. Okay, as we look at this car, we could either scale the whole cube, on the y-axis, and it would make this cube scale equally this way as well as that way. Or we can just, hold them in the mouse button, rotate the view, grab the front of this, and pull this to the front, like similar to what we did in the, the front reference of the car. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to press A, that deselected the cube. We're going to make sure we're on face select, which we are. I'm going to hold them in the mouse button. The background disappeared. That's fine. I'm going to click here. And I just turned just to grab this front part right here. I'm going to click here to go back to front view, or back to right view. I'm then going to push this out to here. Now you see how we can't see the reference image? The cube is blocking our image, right? So what we do is we look here, see where it says right. See right here where it says back front. So this, by this saying back, this is saying, have this reference image be in the back. However, that makes it hard because we can't see what's going on here. So we just click front here and now we can see what's going on there. Okay, so we're going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold them in the mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to click here. Then I'm going to click here to go back to right view. And then what we're going to do is just drag this back. I'm trying to think. If I want to go all the way back. Yeah, we'll go all the way back. Okay, so as I was dragging this face back, why was I considering stopping here instead of going all the way back? And the reason why is I'm going to pull this over. This is just an image, another image of this car, using it as a reference. See this right here, how prominent this is? Like, this is one thing we need to make sure that this is, very prominent. This whole shape right here, like from here, all along here, up here, and around here. So I was considering if I wanted to stop the face right here, just because I want to make sure that this is prominent. However, we should be able to do that in the future. So let me take that off the screen for now. Okay, so let's check to make sure that our reference, images are set up right, because our cube is, one thing nice about our cube is it's letting us know that the cube is the basic length of the car. From the front view, it's the basic, I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan, it's the basic width of the car. From our back view, and see the back view how it's you can't see, so we just go down here. Here it says back, so we click here to go to front. So let's click the top view. So I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan the image. So here's the top view. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom out some. Our top view is right here. See, it says back, so let's just click front right here. Okay, so you can see from our top view that our top view image needs to be adjusted some. It's not a difficult thing to do. We're going to hold shift, and then while holding the left mouse button, we're going to drag to the right. This should be the correct size. I'm looking at these mirrors right here. I'm going to click the front view. Yeah, the mirrors are coming out like they should. I'm going to click here to go back to top view. So see how we have this space here between the back and the front. We're going to just, deal with that and leave this how it is. For the most part, the front is where we need this to be. And when I say this, I'm talking about the reference image. Okay, as we work in 3D, we want to make things as easy as they can be for us. So I'm going to click front view. What we're about to do is we're about to cut this cube in half. We're going to delete this half of the cube, and then we're going to put something called a mirror modifier on here. And what that mirror modifier is going to do is all of the work that we do to this side is going to be duplicated to that side. And we might even use it in other ways as well. So for now, what we're going to do is hover right here. We're going to hold control. While holding control, we're going to press the R key. See that line that popped up? That's a preview line showing us where loop cut is going to go. I'm going to left click once and then left click a second time. So I have that loop cut perfectly in the center of this cube here, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Z. When I press Z, this menu pops up. I'm then going to select wireframe. Okay, so because we have this loop cut right here, now I can go to face select. I can hover my mouse here. And what I'm about to do is press B for box select, though. I want to explain to you why I went to wireframe. It's a little bit even more confusing than it might usually be because we have our reference image, the opacity down. So typically in Blender, if I try to select the front of the cube, right, and I wanted to select the front as well as the back of the cube, which is what I want. If we don't have, with Blender default settings, if we have it being Blender set up so that we draw a box select for the front, Blender will grab the front part of the cube. I'm actually going to press Z, go back to solid view so it doesn't look like I'm pointing at something that's not there. So here's the cube, right? So this is solid view. I'll show you. So if I press B for box select, I grab the front of the cube, right? Now I want to delete the front of the cube, the side of the cube, the back of the cube. Looks like we're good. However, when we turn to the side, we can see we have just that front face, right? So now I'm going to go back to front view. I'm going to press A to deselect. Now I'm going to press Z and go to wireframe view. Now the cube is there. It's kind of hard to see because the reference images in the background. But in wireframe view, now when I hover here, press B for box select, left click and drag. I go a little bit more than halfway center point. Now, just like before, it looks like we have the front part of the cube, the front face. However, when I hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side, this whole part of the cube is selected. So I'm going to click here to go back to front view. Okay, so now with that whole part of the cube selected, what we want to do is press X. This brings up our delete menu. We then want to choose faces to delete. And what we did was I'll press Z, go back to solid view so you can see what's going on. This whole half of the cube is gone. So you might say, well, why did you want to do that? We're about to put a mirror modifier on here, and to do that, we're going to click what looks like this wrench here. Our add modifier menu pops up here. We click here. Then we select mirror here. And when we clicked mirror, this whole part came back on the cube. So you might sit there and say, well, that looks just like it was before. Before, if we worked on this side of the cube, what we did on this side would not be shown, from what we did on this side. This is kind of like virtual geometry. Whatever we do on this side happens on this side. So these are our options for the mirror modifier. We want to put a check mark here for clipping. What that means is that this virtual geometry right here won't pull apart from this actual geometry right here. Okay, what we want to do now is click here to go to the top view. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. See how the cube is, it's a square, right? So the car is rounded in the front. So I'm going to hover here. I'm going to hold control. While holding control, I'm going to press R. Let's put the loop cut in. I'm going to left click once. Because I left click once, I can move this loop cut, right? So I'm going to move this to the side some like this. I'm going to left click a second time, so now this loop cut is locked in. Okay, and I kind of like went right, see this little point right here, went to the side a little bit past that point right there. As far as our mirror geometry right here, if you're like, well, okay, you put the loop cut here, how come it's not over there? If we look on our mirror modifier options, if we click this button, now this side will look, this is our mirrored side, our virtual geometry side will look just like this side. Okay, so why did we put these loop cuts in here? We have, you know, a box shape right here. We basically can, because we have this loop cut, we can pull this edge, and think of this loop cut as being like, this loop cut will only move, when I pull this piece of the loop cut here will allow this part to curve in from here, rather than from here. So if this loop cut wasn't here, and we grabbed here and we pulled, the line would kind of go like this, right? When I say the line, I mean this face right here would kind of go like that. But because we have this here, when we pull from here, now the face would kind of go like this. Okay, so I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. We're on edge select, which is what we want. I'm going to click here. I'm then going to click here to go back to top view. Okay, so it's hard to see that we have this selected, but we know it's selected because we saw it selected in the other view. So what we're going to do is pull like this. We're going to hold shift as well as the middle mouse button to pan. We're going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate. We're going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold shift to the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to click here just like we did in the front. I'm going to go back to top view, and I am going to go like that, very similar to the top view. I'm now going to click here to go to the right view. So I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, so remember I was saying like this has to be or should be, you know, prominent. And I was telling you that because of this image, because of this right here, particularly like right there. Okay, so now we can see that we have an edge right here, you know, going back. So let's make sure we're on edge select. Let's click this edge right here and let's pull this back. To around there. Okay, what we want to do now is we want to put a loop cut before as well as after the wheel well for all of the tires when we work on this side, because we have a mirror modifier in this car. The loop cuts will be on all sides of the car. So what we're going to do is we're going to hover here, hold control, while holding control press R. See that line that popped up? You couldn't see the line until I moved my mouse, by the way. So when I moved up, now you can see it. So I left click once. Because I only left click once, I can move this loop cut. I'm going to put this right in front of the tire. I'm then going to left click a second time. Now it's important a loop cut popped up here to the center. That when I put the loop cut in, as I move this way, I put the loop cut here first. I'm going to put another loop cut here. If I put this loop cut here first and then try to go to this side, the loop cut here would have stopped the loop cut, if that makes sense. So the loop cut pops up here. Long story short, put it here first, the furthest away position first, and then the shortest. Okay, so I'm going to hover here, hold control, press R. Couldn't see the loop cut until I left clicked. Until I moved the mouse. Now I left click once because I only left click once. I can move the loop cut. I left click a second time. The loop cut's locked in. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold control while holding control, press R. I moved my mouse up. That let me see the loop cut. I'm going to left click once. I'm going to the furthest wheel well position away, which is here. I'm going to left click a second time to lock that in. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold control. While holding control, I'm going to press R. Can't see the loop cut even though I press control R. I'm moving my mouse up. Now I can see the preview line. I left click once. Because I only left click once, I can move the loop cut. So I'm going to move the loop cut to here. I'm then going to left click a second time to lock that loop cut in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hold the mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to go to this edge here, hold shift. I'm then going to click here. I'm going to go back to right view by clicking here. I'm going to push down here. I'm going to hold them in the mouse button, press A to deselect. I'm going to click here, hold shift, then click here. I'm on edge select, by the way. I'm going to go back to right view. I'm going to push down here. I'm then going to click just here. Push that down some, like that. Okay, I'm going to go back to right view. Long story short, right here, I was just grabbing the edges, pushing them down, just trying to get this basic shape right here. Now we want a loop cut going over the top of this wheel well, so we're going to hold control. While holding control, press R. I'm going to move the mouse, and I move the mouse so that the loop cut preview would change to horizontal. I'm going to left click once. Because I only left click once, I can move this loop cut up. So I'm going to left click a second time to lock that loop cut in. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm holding in my mouse, but now I'm taking advantage of the image going away just to see how our cube is looking. I'm going to take a look at top view, back view, front view. Now I'm going to go back to right view. Okay, we know we want this to be prominent, so what we're going to do is hold control. While holding control, press R. When I'm saying this, I mean that line that is the bottom of my cursor is just, pretty much touching that line. So I'm going to left click once. Because I left click once, I partially locked the loop cut in. I'm moving this loop cut down. I'm then going to left click a second time, so the line is going like this. So I put it here so it's being the loop cut in the general area of that line right there. Okay, so what we're going to do now is roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift and middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Because of the way we put our loop cuts in, we have these curved loop cuts on the bottom that could make things a little bit more difficult for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to click here, hold shift, click here. With these loop cuts selected, we're just selecting these, I shouldn't say loop cuts, because it's not, it's these edges selected here. We're going to press S to scale on the Y axis 0. And then left click to lock that in, right? So see how this looks messed up here? Now we're going to go to the right view, and we're going to pull this back to the front of that wheel well. So I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view, and then going to press A to deselect. So now we have this, straight line here that should make things easier for us. So now we're going to, just do the same with the rest of these edges on the bottom of this, what's going to be our car. Okay, so with edge selected, we're going to click here, hold shift, then click here. We're then going to press S to scale on the Y axis 0. And then left click to lock that in. That S to scale on the Y axis 0 is an easy way to make things straight when you're dealing with things that are going from, generally front to back. So we have this straight. Let's go to our right view. And you can see now, because we did that, this edge here is, going here. We want this edge to be right here. So we'll take our manipulator and pull the edge back so it's like this. So this blue, green, as well as red, object here is called our manipulator. So I'm going to hold them in the mouse button. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, so what we're going to do now is with edge selected, we're going to click here, hold shift, then click here. We're then going to press S to scale on the Y axis 0, then left click to lock in. We'll then click here to go to right view. We'll just take our manipulator and push this forward some like that. Sometimes when you're working, like right here, this thing is our camera. Sometimes there's other objects that will, kind of get in the way of you working. What you can do is see where this says view global/local. Global mode is where you see everything like the camera. If I click here, this took us into local mode. So now we don't see the camera, we don't see anything else. So sometimes this is useful to not be distracted by other objects. Though when you save a Blender file, if you come back in, you should look here and see if this is in local. If you have other objects and you're like, where's my other objects at? You know, what happened? If you're in local mode, you'll only see the current objects that you're working on. Okay, we're going to hold them in the mouse button to rotate to look at the top of our mesh right here. See how we have these lines right here? We can straighten these out just so they don't cause us issues. So very similar to the back, we're going to click here, hold shift. We're going to press S to scale on the Y axis 0, and then left click to lock that in. This is a little bit more forward than here, so we'll take the manipulator and just line that up. We'll click here, hold shift, press S to scale on the Y axis 0. Left click to lock that in, and then line that up. We'll then press A to deselect. We'll click here, we'll hold shift, then click here, then press S to scale on the Y axis 0, then left click to lock that in, and then line that up as well. We'll then press A to deselect. I'm going to hold my middle mouse button to take a look. Okay, we're going to click here to go back to right view. Let's zoom in here. I'm going to hold shift and middle mouse button to pan. So this is pretty much right above that wheel well there. Hold the middle mouse button to take a look at this. Let's click here, hold shift, then click here, here, as well as here. Now let's press. We want this. Normally we were pressing S to scale on the Y axis 0 because we were dealing with lines that were going this way. We want this to be straightened out this way. So now, when I say this way, I mean up and down as opposed to forward and back. So I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis. See the preview line showing us how we're going to scale. So now I press 0 here, and that just straightens out the line there. So now I'm going to go to right view. I'm pushing this down some. And what I'm doing is I'm looking right here as well as right here. Okay, I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, let's deal with little areas like this. We can see that, this right here doesn't match up with that. So we'll hold them in the mouse button. We'll click here. Go back to right view. We'll take our manipulator and pull up here. Hold them in the mouse button. Click here. Go back to right view. Oh, wait a second. I'm going to right click. When you right click, it's almost like a little mini undo. We're going to hold shift, click here as well. Go back to right view. Oh, I see. Okay, so I'm pulling this up. You see this? And I'm like, why is this point staying down here? And the reason why is because we have this edge. Like, we need to grab this vertice right here. So I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here, then click here. Now go back to right view. And now we can see that, that vertice is up. Now what we can do is go to edge select, click here, go back to right view, and pull those edges up like that. So now we'll press A to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do now is hold them in the mouse button to rotate. We're going to make sure we're on edge select. We're going to click here, hold shift, and click here. We're going to press S to scale on the Y axis 0, and then press enter to lock that in. We're then going to go back to right view. We're going to take this and line this up right here like that. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, one of the more difficult parts that I find to work with when working with a car is dealing with these wheel well areas. I like this method. It's fairly simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to click here to go to phase select. Okay, now we're going to click here. I'm then going to hold shift. While holding shift, I'm going to press S. This brings up our snap to menu. And what we're going to do is we're going to choose from the snap to menu, cursor to selected, or snap menu, cursor to selected. And what that did was that put the cursor, I'm going to hold them in the mouse button so you can see this 3D cursor, that put that right here. And when I say here, what I mean is when I move in 3D space, right on this face is where the 3D cursor is at, right? So because we did that, in Blender where the 3D cursor is at is where objects tend to come into Blender at. So what we're going to do is hold shift. While holding shift, press A. This brings up our add to menu. And then I'm going to go to cylinder. So cylinder comes in. I'm going to change the vertices from 32 to 8 by clicking here and then pressing 8 and then pressing enter to lock that in. And then with this still selected, I'm going to press R to rotate on the Y axis 9, 0. And then I'm going to press enter to lock that in as well. Okay, now I'm going to click here to go to the right view. And we have this right here. This is basically going to become our wheel. So what we're going to do is hold the mouse button to be able to see it. We're going to press S to scale on the X axis. We can see a preview line showing us how we're going to scale. We'll scale to about there. We're going to left click to lock that in. Now, well, that being, the scale, we're going to go back to right view. Then we're going to press S to scale. And that's fine. That's the general size of the tire is what you want. With this selected here, we're going to hold shift. While holding shift, press D. I'm then going to right click to lock the duplicate that I just did. So shift D means duplicate. All right. So with this selected, I press shift D. So now there's two of these shapes instead of one. So you can't see them because they're right on top of each other. I'm going to take the manipulator and pull this back like this, just so we have a back wheel now. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to hold them in the mouse button to rotate. We're going to hover here, over here, right? This is already selected. We're going to hover here. We're going to press L. When we press L, we select this whole shape right here because the mirror modifier is on. Is why you see the tires on the other side being selected. Now what we're going to do is hold shift, and while holding shift, we're going to press H. And what that did was that hid everything else. Everything is still there. It's just hidden. So now we see only these tires. So what we're going to do is we're going to click here, left click, right? I'm going to hold shift, and then I'm going to, while holding shift, left click here. I'm then going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, press D. I'm then going to right click. So now we have a duplicate of just this shape right here, right? So what we are going to do is I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold Alt. While holding Alt, I'm going to press H. That brought everything back into view. I'm holding the middle mouse button to rotate. So now I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to select just on our wheels, or I'm not going to select. I'm going to hover over there. I'm going to press L. Then I'm going to hover over this wheel, then press L. Then I'm going to press H. Okay, so I was expecting this to be right flush with that, but that's fine. I'll click here, I'll hold shift, then I'll click here. I'm going to take the manipulator and pull this like that. So you want, this shape to be pretty much right against this face right there. Okay, we're going to use this shape basically as a way of just shaping the wheel well. So that's the main purpose of it being here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to press A to deselect. We're going to click right here. I'm going to hold shift, click right here. I'm going to hold shift while I click here, as well as here, as well as here. I'm then going to press X to bring up our delete menu, then choose faces to delete. Okay, we're going to hold them in the mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to put a loop cut here, so I'm going to hold control. While holding control, I'm going to press R. I'm going to left click once, then left click a second time to lock that in. I'm then going to press S to scale on the Y axis 0, and then left click to lock that in. Okay, I'm going to hover here. I'm going to hold control. While holding control, I'm going to press R. I'm then going to left click once, then left click a second time to put that loop cut in. Then I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, what we need is for this point to basically match up with here, this point to match up here to make more sense as we go along. We need this point to match up with an edge here, which there's no edge there now. So what we're going to do is click here to go to right view. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. So I'm going to hold shift and the mouse button to pan. I'll roll them in the mouse button to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift and the mouse button to pan. Now I'm going to hover here, hold control. While holding control, press R. Can't see the loop cut, so I move my mouse. It pops up. Now there. So I'm going to left click once, then left click a second time to lock that in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hover here, hold control. While holding control, press R. I'm then going to left click once, left click a second time to lock that in. I want this to be straight, so I'm gonna scale this on the z-axis, on the 0 axis to straighten this out. So with this selected, I'm going to press S to scale on the z-axis 0, and then I'm going to press Enter to lock that in. We need a loop cut here as well. I'm going to hold control. While holding control, I'm going to press R. I'm going to left click once, left click a second time to lock that in. I'm then going to press S to scale on the z-axis 0, and then press Enter to lock that in. Okay, so I am going to click here. Manipulator's in my way, so I can go right to here, click that to temporarily take away the manipulator. I'm going to left click here. Then I can just click here to bring back the manipulator. I just push that down like that just to have this line up with that point right there. So I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, so I'm going to click here, then take the manipulator and push this down just to line up with that. Like that. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, so we're going to click here. I'm going to hold control. While holding control, press space, then select manipulator just to temporarily hide it. I'm going to hold shift. Then I'm going to hold control. While holding control, press space, and then re-click the manipulator. And then I'm just going to push this down. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold shift and middle mouse button pan. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift and middle mouse button to pan. See this edge right here. I am going to hold Alt. While holding Alt, click on this edge right here. Because I was holding Alt, I selected that entire edge loop. And I'm looking at this and this, so I'm just going to pull this like that. I'm then going to click right view, and that's better. So I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, so what we want to do is we're going to go to vertice select. And what we're going to do is pretty much click from here. So click this vertice, hold shift. Click this vertice, then we're going to press F. Click this vertice, the manipulator's in the way, so I'm going to hold control. While holding control, I'm going to hold space. Then I'm going to select manipulator to temporarily hide the manipulator. I'm going to click here, then press F. Okay, so I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here, hold shift and click here, then press F. I'm going to click here, hold shift and click here. While holding shift and press F. I'm going to click here, hold shift. While holding shift, I'm going to click here, then press F. I'm going to click here, hold shift, and click here, then press F. I'm going to click here, while holding shift, click here, then press F. Okay, I'm going to hold the mouse button to rotate the view. We're going to click here to go to edge select. We have this edge selected. We're going to hold shift. We're going to click here, then press F. We're going to click here, hold shift, then click here, then press F. We're going to click here. When we clicked here, deselect it there. We're going to hold shift, then click here, then press F. We're going to click here, hold shift, then click F. Click here, hold shift, then click F. Click here, hold shift, then click F. This strange coloring you see right here is because the normals aren't right. Think of normals as being like when you put you put a shirt on that has a logo on the outside, right? the logo is meant to face out to so people can see the logo. When the shirt is inside out, it's not the right way. Think of normals as being the direction that a face should be facing, and Blender shows us that the normal is not facing the right way by making the color look like this. So it's kind of like these faces have their shirt inside out. So what we do is we click here, hold shift, we select these ones with the shading is funny, we press W. This brings up our specials menu, then we select flip normals, and now we can see that the color looks right because the normals are now facing the correct direction. Okay, what we're going to do now is click here to go to right view. Okay, so we have our wheel well. We need this right here, so we're going to click here. We're then going to click here, hold shift, click here, 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 as well as here. So I was holding shift the whole time. I just let go of shift now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to press S to scale. And then left click. Don't be concerned about this at the moment. Just you want this to be, pretty much touching this ring right here. So with these edges selected, we're going to hold control, and then while holding control, press B. And what that did was that activated what's called the bevel mode. So basically what bevel is it splits an edge. So we have all of those edges selected. We just press control B. See that dotted line there? Now we're going to hold shift, and we're going to pull our mouse I'm going to then left click and let go of shift. Okay, so I was, just trying to get this around the thickness of that. So with this selected, let's press S to scale even more. Then I'm going to left click to lock that scale in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold the mouse button to rotate the view. So what we're going to do is we're going to click here, hold shift, click here, 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 as well as here. Okay, now we're going to click here to go back to right view. And then with those edges selected, we're going to press S to scale and the Z-axis 0, and then left click to lock that in. We'll hold control. While holding control, press space, then select manipulator to bring our manipulator back, and then we'll pull this up like that. We'll then press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold them in the mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to click here to go to face select. I'm going to click here. I'm going to press X to bring up our delete menu, then choose faces to delete. See how we can see this kind of strange color in here? It's because we have edges going over other edges. So what we'll do is we'll click here, we'll click here, and then we'll just, okay, we zoom in. We'll go to vertice select instead. Click this vertice here, pull that up, click this vertice here. So I'm pulling the vertices are crossing over each other, and that's where that's why it didn't look right. So I'm gonna hold shift in the mouse button here. This stuff doesn't have to be exact. You want to think as you're working now. I'm doing this. I'm making these lines more horizontal, but you want to think for the most part basics right now. I'm going to press A to deselect. When I say basics, I mean basics of shape. Okay, so we're going to click here to go to right view. We're going to roll the mouse wheel, zoom back. See how this comes here and this is here. So what we can do is click here, push this back. We can click here, pull that in. Same thing here. pull this back, click here, push this in. I'll then press A to deselect. Okay, and we can do the same, with the rest of these. So we'll hold Shift, push this down, we'll click here, push this down. So I'm basically looking at the points right here. I'm not trying to make it exact, but generally have it go with this right here is what I'm actually looking at right there. Okay, so I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, when I hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view, we have all this, needs to be filled in. So with edge select on, we're going to hold Alt. While holding Alt, click there. Because I was holding Alt, we selected that entire edge loop right there. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to hold Shift. We're then going to click here as well as here. Okay, we need to hold Shift, click here as well as here. I'm going to hold them in the mouse button to rotate. Okay, let's try to make sure this is as straight as possible. So we'll press S to scale and X-axis 0, and then left click to lock that in. And we did that. So if there's any little bit of curves, it would straighten it out. It's not, I don't think, super important. So anyway, we're going to hold Shift and the mouse button to pan. We want to pay attention to this right here, as well as this right here, this right here. The reason why I say pay attention is we're about to extrude. We're going to extrude to here and then extrude to there. That's the plan. So what we're going to do now is we're going to press the E button to extrude. I'm then going to right click. It doesn't look like I did anything, but I made new geometry right on top of the old geometry. Because we have new geometry, now we can take our manipulator and push this to here. So I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Okay, so now that we have, extruded to here, now what we want to do is press the extrude button again. Press the right mouse button to get the new geometry to stay in place. And now we're just going to push this as far as this will go. So this is going to the mirrored side. Then they're kind of like, joining up. So that's good so far. Okay, I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom back and take a look at what we have here. I'm going to press A to select everything. I'm going to press W. And the reason why I did this is I brought up our specials menu so we could go to here where it says remove double. Sometimes when you push things towards the mirror modifier, like that side of the mirror modifier, you get extra vertices. So if you open up specials like we did by pressing W, you click remove doubles, you can see if there's any extra vertices, and it doesn't look like there are any because the Blender would have told us right at the top. Okay, so we're going to press A to deselect, hold the mouse button to rotate the view. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go to face select, holding the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm going to hold Shift and middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to hold Alt. While holding Alt, I'm going to click right here. So because I let go of Alt. Because I was holding Alt, I selected that entire edge loop right there. Now I'm holding the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm going to press C to paint select. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select. Paint select just allows you to select things just like you were painting with a paintbrush. I'm going to press C for paint select. Again, I'm then going to right click to get out of paint select again. Okay, what we're going to do now is with this geometry selected, we're going to hold Shift. While holding Shift, we're going to press D. We're then going to right click to get that duplicated geometry to stay in place. We're then going to click here to go to right view. We're going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan the view. We're then going to take the manipulator and pull this duplicated geometry back to about here. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. We're going to press A to deselect. We're going to go to edge select. We're going to hold Alt. well, I'm going to let go of Alt. I'm going to hold them in the mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to re-hold Alt. I'm going to click here, right? When I click there, I selected all of this edge right here. Like all of this right here. I'm going to hold Shift and Alt now. I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to hold Shift and Alt, then click here. Now I'm rolling the mouse wheel to zoom back. So I have all of this selected here, then all of this selected here. I'm going to zoom back some more. So because this geometry here on the inside loop is very similar to that outside loop, we can press W to bring up our, not our specials menu, sorry. We're going to hold Control. While holding Control, press E. This brings up our edges menu. Then we can select Bridge Edge Loops. And basically that's just a very easy way to connect this duplicated geometry from here, into the geometry here. So we'll press A to deselect. The reason why that worked is because the geometry is very similar. So the geometry here is the same as the geometry here. So we were able to use that bridge loop to, connect this geometry in there. So I'm going to go to face select. We don't need these faces now. So I'm going to press X to bring up our delete menu, then choose faces to delete. Okay, I'm going to hold them in the mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to click here to go to top view. I'm going to hold Shift in the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to hold Shift, holding Shift, holding the middle mouse button to pan some more. Let's put a loop cut right here. I'm looking at getting this shape right here, or making this shape right here. Okay, so how would we go about getting a shape like this? Well, we're going to look here and say, okay, we want detail here. One of the ways we can get this detail is we can put a loop cut right here. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to hold Control. While holding Control, we're going to press R. We don't see the loop cut even though we pressed it, so we move our mouse and there's the loop cut. So we're going to left click once. Because we left click once, we can move this loop cut. So we're going to move it to there and then left click to lock that loop cut in. Okay, so we have the loop cut here. How do we keep working towards this shape? Let's go to vertice select. Let's click this vertice and then let's push this vertice in here. So when I push this vertice in, basically what I'm thinking is I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate. When I push this in, it doesn't look like it's doing too much as far as, changing the geometry there. So I'm fine with, pushing that vertice in like that. So I'm going to click here to go back to top view. Okay, so continuing to think about how to get this shape, I'm like, okay, I want this here. Look at this. There's a vertice right here. So on vertice select, I click here, take the manipulator, and now look at this. From pushing the one vertice in here and then pushing this vertice in here, we generally have this shape here, which is good. I hold them in a mouse button to take a look. It doesn't look like there's too much, happening as far as changing the shape. Everything else looks, fairly decent. So I'm pleased with how this is going so far. So now I'll click here to go back to top view. Okay, when we look at these other shapes here, see this vertice right here. So right where the windshield's at, it's like, okay, that I like that. So even though it's not directly done with this shape, this seems to be right where I want that vertice to be. This is very close to here. So I'm going to take this, push that back like there. When I did that, this line is now curved. Let me zoom in. I roll the mouse wheel, so I'm going to hold them in the mouse button to rotate the view. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here to go to edge select. I'm going to click here. I'm going to click here to go back to top view. Then I'm going to pull that just so this is more straight right here. And I'm going to hold them in the mouse button. When I'm taking a look, I'm just seeing how much change am I causing from, pulling vertices and edges, and it doesn't look like I'm causing changes that are going to cause issues in the future, at least currently. So I'm going to click here to go back to top view. Okay, so we have this shape here to deal with, so let's try to put a loop cut in. I'm going to hold Control. While holding Control, press R. I'm going to left click once. Then when I left click a second time, I want this to be straight, so I'm going to press S to scale on the Y axis 0. And then I'm going to press enter to lock that in. I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, so with that done, I'm going to click here, go to vertice select, pull this to the side. We have all this right here. So I'm thinking another loop cut. I'm going to hold control. While holding control, I'm going to press R, left click. I left click once so I can move this loop cut. I'm going to move it up like that. I'm then going to left click a second time. I'm now going to click here, pull this back something like that. Go to the side here, click here, go to top view. Oops, wrong one. That one. Click here just to move the manipulator out of the way right here. Click back. Sorry, went top view. Okay, and I'm just doing this just to make this more straight. Okay, what we're going to do is put another loop cut right here. We're going to hold control. While holding control, we're going to press R. We don't see anything, but we move our mouse. There it goes. So we're going to left click once. I'm going to take this out, something like that, and then going to left click a second time to lock that loop cut in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, so what we're going to do now is make sure we're on vertice select. I'm going to click here, pull out here. I'm looking at this line right here. I'm going to push up there. I want more detail here, so I'm going to hold control. While holding control, I'm going to press R to put another loop cut in. I'm going to left click once, then left click a second time to lock that loop cut in. Okay, so with this loop cut, with vertice select on, I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click this vertice right here. I'm looking at this line right here. And I'm pushing and pulling these vertices to line that up right there. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, with vertice select on, I'm going to click here, push this forward. I'm going to click here, then push that forward as well. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to click here and push this forward. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, we're going to hold them in the mouse button. Take a look. Let's go to right view. Okay, we're going to put a loop cut right here. I'm going to hold control. While holding control, I'm going to press R. I'm going to left click to put a loop cut right there. I'm then going to left click a second time. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hover here, hold control. While holding control, press R. I'm going to left click once, pull the loop cut to around here, then left click a second time. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to go to edge select. I'm going to click here, hold shift and click here. I'm looking at this right here. Click this edge right here, pull that up like that. Okay, I'm focusing my attention right now. I'm looking right here. I'm going to put another loop cut right here. I'm going to hold control. While holding control, I'm going to press R. I'm then going to left click once. Left click a second time to lock that in. I'll press A to deselect. I'm going to hover here. I'm going to hold control. While holding control, press R. I'm going to put a loop cut right here. I'm going to hold control, press R, left click. Because I left click once, I can move the loop cut. I'm going to put a loop cut right here and then left click to lock that in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I put the loop cuts here because of this right here. I'm like looking at this line, how it flows up right there. So I wanted enough vertices to shape for this line right here. Now I'm looking at this light right here, so I want to loop cut around here, so I'm going to hover here, hold control. While holding control, I'm going to press R, move my mouse to make the loop cut horizontal rather than vertical like it was when we first pressed control R. I'm going to left click once. Because I left click once, I can move the loop cut. I'm going to move this up. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold control. While holding control, press R. I'm going to left click once. Because I left click once, I can move the loop cut. Then I'm going to move this down. Then left click a second time. Then I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, we're going to click the top to go back to the top view. I'm going to hold shift and middle mouse button, pan. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom out. I'm going to hold control and the middle mouse button to zoom in. I'm looking right here. We have our basic shape, but we don't have a loop cut right here for this shape right here. So I'm going to hold control. While holding control, press R. I'm going to then left click once, then left click a second time to lock that loop cut in. I want something right here, so I'm going to hold something. That something would be another loop cut. I'm going to hold control, press R, left click a second time to lock that in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, so I'm going to go to vertice select, and I'm just grabbing these vertices to, set up for the shape of this. Is my basic thought as I'm doing this. I'll try to adjust the vertices so that they're, for the most part, straight. Okay, so now we have this shape as well, and we should be able to easily, work with this. So I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to take a look. Okay, I'm going to press A to deselect, and then I'm going to click here to go back to top view. Okay, I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. Hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan more. As we work through this, we want to have our basic shapes, and we just want to think about the future, like where we're going with this model. So we want our basic shapes to be in as we, continue to work. And we want to have our basic shapes in while they're fairly easy to get those basic shapes, to be in there, like this shape right here. Okay, when we look here, we can see we're going to need a loop cut. So what we're going to do is hold control. While holding control, press R. We move our mouse. We can see the loop cut. We're going to left click once because we only left click once. We can move this loop cut. We're going to left click a second time to lock that in, and then press A to deselect. Okay, we're going to click here to go to front view. Let's put a loop cut right here. So I'm going to hold control. While holding control, I'm going to press R. I have my loop cut preview. You want it going vertical. I'm going to left click once, then left click a second time to lock that loop cut in. Okay, I'm going to click here to go to top view. I'm going to hold shift and middle mouse button to pan. See this line right here? We're going to go to this line right here. We're going to go to vertice select. Click these vertices and pull them so that they line up with that. I'm just grabbing the vertices, taking the manipulator and using the red part of the manipulator to pull over. Okay, I'm going to click here to go to front view. Okay, here in front view, we'll hover here, we'll hold control. While holding control, we'll press R to put a loop cut in, we'll left click. Come down here, then left click again to put another loop cut in. We'll then press, or lock the loop cut in, we'll press A to deselect. Okay, what we want to do now is get this general shape right here. So if you look at my mouse all around here, kind of like that shape. So we're just going to take our vertices and line them up. So we have a vertice line right here. We'll try to make sure that as we're doing this, we're not disturbing other vertices too much. Let's put a loop cut right here. We're going to hold control while holding control, press R, left click, put a loop cut right there. We'll press A to deselect. We'll push these in like this. And we're basically going for the general shape. We want to keep our lines, fairly straight when we can. So that's why I went here so I could see this. So now I can go back to front view and pull this up. I just want to make sure it really wasn't disturbing for the most part. Things on the side. And if we look at this line right here, we pretty much have what we need. This right here. Let's put a loop cut here. Let's hold control. While holding control, press R. You can see there's a loop cut preview line. We're going to left click once, then left click a second time to lock that in. We'll press A to deselect. Okay, we have our general shape here. Let's click here to go to face select. Let's press C for paint select. See this circle here? That's paint select. If you roll your mouse wheel one way, it gets bigger. Roll your mouse wheel the other way, it gets smaller. So what we want to do is this line right here, let's paint underneath there. I'm going to shrink the mouse wheel to grab right there. Then here. This is pretty much what we want. So we're going to right click to get out of paint select now. Okay, so with that area selected, we're going to press E to extrude. We're going to right click, then we're going to press S to scale that in some. Then we're going to take the manipulator and pull back some, like that. Okay, now we're going to press E to extrude again, right click, press S to scale very slightly. Then we're going to press E to extrude again, right click. And when we right click, we just keep the geometry in place. We're then going to take the green manipulator and push out some. And we did all that extruding because we wanted to have a separation between this shape here and these shapes here. Okay, let's click here and go back to front view. So we've got this shape here. Let's zoom in. Let's go to edge select. Let's press A to deselect, and let's push like this. See if we can push this bottom like this. I'm just grabbing the vertices and just trying to get that right there. I'll hold control, press R, put a loop cut in, left click once, left click a second time to lock that in. Okay, so I'm going to hold them in the mouse button and rotate the view. I'm going to go to front view again. Just want to make sure I'm not grabbing parts of this. I'm going to go to face select. I'm going to press A to select everything, A to deselect everything, just so I know nothing is selected. I'm going to click here, hold shift, and click here. And go back to front view. So now we have this general shape. So I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm going to press E to extrude and then right click to lock that in. Okay, so with this selected, I'm going to take the manipulator and push this out some. I'm going to go back to front view. Back to front view again. Okay, I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here to go to back view. Here in the back view, I'm going to go to edge select. I'm going to click here. Pushing this down because that doesn't need to be, bent like that. I'll press A to deselect. Okay, here in the back view, we want this basic shape. So with edge select, we'll grab this, push this down. Let's press S to scale on the Z axis. Flatten that out. We'll grab here, hold shift here. Manipulator block me for a second. I'll click here. Press S to scale on the Z axis. Let's click here. Push this down. We even need to have that pushed down. We don't, so we have this line here. Let's go to vertice select. We'll push this over it like this. We have our basic shape, which is excellent. I'll press A to deselect. Push this down some like that. I'll press A to deselect. Okay, so we'll click here to go to face select. We'll press C for paint select. I'll roll the mouse wheel up and we'll select all this here. Before we do this, let's press A to deselect. This. Push this down like this. Push this down like that. Good. Now we'll press A to deselect. We'll press C for paint select. We'll right click the other paint select. Go to face select. We'll press C for paint select. We'll select all this area here. We'll press E to extrude. Right click to lock that in. We'll press S to scale. Then we'll press E to extrude again. Bring this back like that. And we'll press A to deselect. Okay, let's click here to go back to back view. Let's hold the mouse button to rotate the view. Okay, let's go to our top view. We'll hold shift and middle mouse button to pan and roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. Roll the mouse wheel to zoom in, hold shift and middle mouse button to pan, roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. Okay, what we want to do here is be on face select, which we are. We're going to press C for paint select. We want to paint this shape here. I'll roll the mouse wheel to shrink it down some. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. You can see what's going on. I'm going to press E to extrude. I'm going to right click to get that extrusion to stay in place. I'm going to take the manipulator and then push down some. You see that right there? That's fine because we're going to press E to extrude. Right click again, press S to scale to shrink some. Now we're going to press E to extrude, right click, and then bring this up some like this. Oops, too much, so we'll push it down some. And for this part right here, we'll click here. The face is right there. Push these forward some like that. We'll press S to scale on the X axis some. We'll go to edge select, click here. Okay, I see. I want to push that down. To push that down, I rolled the mouse wheel to zoom in. We have to grab here as well as here if we want this to go down some. So I'll press A to deselect. Okay, we're going to go to top view. Roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. Hold shift and middle mouse button to pan. Roll the middle mouse button to zoom in. Hold shift and middle mouse button to pan some more. Roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. We're going to click here, which is face select. We're going to click here. Hold the middle mouse button to see what's going on. Let's press A to deselect. Let's go to edge select, grab here, hold shift, grab. Hold shift allow me to grab more than one edge at a time. I'll go back to the top view. I'll push this forward. I'll press S to scale on the X axis. Now I'll press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom back some. I'm going to click here to go to face select. I'll click here, hold shift, and click here. Hold the mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to press E to extrude. Right click to lock the extrusion in. I'm going to press S to scale on the X axis like that. Now I'm going to press S to scale like that. I'm going to press E to extrude. Right click to lock the extrusion in. Then I'm going to push down like that. Now with this push down like this, I'm going to press Y. And what that did was that separated this geometry from the rest of the geometry, even though it's still in the same place. And the reason why I did that was so we could put another extrusion in which that would not affect this geometry here. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to hold shift. While holding shift, we're going to press H so we hide everything but here. We want to loop cut right here, so I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to make sure I'm on face select. I'm going to hover here, hold control. While holding control, press R. Then I'm going to left click, then left click a second time to lock that loop cut in. I'm going to press A to deselect. Then I'm going to hold Alt. While holding Alt, I'm going to press H to bring back our other geometry. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to make sure we're on edge select, which we are. We're going to grab this edge. We're going to actually pull this up like this. We're going to grab this edge, pull this up. The reason why we're doing this is on this car, there's a shape that, you know, pretty much goes like this. We're going to click here. Pull this like this. We'll click this shape here and pull this like that. Perfect. Let's click here, pull this very close to there. We'll click here. Just positioning this. Okay, that's decent for now. We'll press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to click here to go back to the back view. Let's go back to face select. Let's press C for paint select and select this geometry here. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select. I'm going to press E to extrude and then right click. Now I'm going to pull that geometry forward like that. Now I'm going to press S to scale. And then I'm going to press A to deselect. If you're wondering, by the way, where our tires came from, they were hidden for a long time. When we unhid everything, the tires were unhid as well. So I'm going to hold shift them in the mouse button to pan, roll them in the mouse button to zoom back. Just taking a look. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to click here to go to the top view. We're going to hold shift and middle mouse button to pan. And what we want to do is grab this whole area right here. So with face select on, we're going to press C for paint select. This whole area right here. I'm going to right click to come out of paint select. Okay, I'm going to hold shift and the mouse button to pan. I'm going to press C for paint select again. Select this area right here. I'm then going to right click to get out of paint select. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. Roll the mouse wheel to zoom in more. We want to make sure we don't have this selected right here. So I'm going to press C for paint select. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button in to deselect right there. I'm then going to right click to get out of paint select. Okay, I'm going to hold control on the middle mouse button to zoom back. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to pull up slightly with the manipulator. I'm then going to press E to extrude. And then I'm going to right click to get the new geometry that we made from extruding to stay in place. I'm then going to pull up some with the manipulator. Okay, what we're going to do now is click here to go to the top view. We can see here's the edge of our selection here, right? So let's hold the middle mouse button to see. Okay, let's go to right view. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull up to the top of our roof here. We're then going to click here to go to top view. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to scale this to here. So to do that, we're going to press S to scale on the X axis like this. We're then going to left click to lock that in. Okay, now I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view, and you can see this right here. So I am going to go to right view. Now that we scaled in on the X axis here, now we're going to press S to scale on no axis here. Then we're going to left click. We're then going to push this down some like this. So we're actually pushing down past the top of the roof here. Okay, we're going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. The reason why we did that is we want the roof to curve some. So we're going to press the O key to turn on this, and this is the proportional editing tool. The proportional editing tool allows you to move more than one vertice, edge, or a face at a time. So we're going to use that now to pull the roof up and bend the roof some. So we're going to click here to go to edge select. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here. I'm going to click here to temporarily take the manipulator away. I'm then going to click here, here, as well as here. I'm then going to go to right view. I'm going to press G. Now when I press G, I can move our geometry, but see that circle there? If I roll the mouse wheel, I can make the circle shrink. If I roll it the other way, I can make the circle grow. That circle represents the area of influence of our proportional editing tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Z. You can see that line popped up to show us how we're going to go. So I'm going to move my mouse up, and then as I move the mouse up, I can roll the circle to affect the influence. Now, I can see I have too much geometry grabbed, so I'm going to right click, hold the middle mouse button. I'm going to hold shift, click here to go back to right view. Now I'm going to press G again, press Z again, and then come up again like this. I'm going to left click, and basically it looks like it did what I wanted. I wanted this to be curved. Now there's too much here, but this for the most part looks like it gave, it did what we wanted it to do. It gave us what we wanted it to do as far as having the geometry curve. So now I'm going to hold the mouse button to rotate. I'm going to click here. Okay, I'm going to click here to go back to top view. Take a look. I'm going to come back to here. I'm going to click here to go to right view. I'm going to press G. I'm going to shrink my area of influence fairly small. I'm going to press Z. Then pull down here. I'm going to left click. I'll click here. Click here to go back to right view. To go back to right view, I'll pull that down some there. I'll click here. Click here to go to right view. Press G. Let me press Z. There we go. Click here. Same thing. G, then Z. click here, right view, G, and then Z. Okay, I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to hold Shift and middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to click here to go to face select. I'm going to press O to turn off the proportional editing tool. Okay, what I'm going to do now is hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to click here to go to vertice select. I want eventually we're going to grab these faces that kind of flow from here down here and then around here. So this vertice is kind of pushing over this way. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to click here to bring back our manipulator. And then I'm just going to pull to the side some. I'm going to click here. And I'm basically just straightening this up some as far as this coming down here. Holding the middle mouse button just to take a look at everything. Okay, I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, now I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to hold Shift and middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to hold Control as well as the middle mouse button, then pull my mouse back. Normally, you can zoom in by rolling your mouse wheel and then rolling the mouse wheel the other direction to zoom out. Sometimes if you want a smoother zoom in and zoom out, you can hold Control and that'll give you that smoother zoom. Okay, so we want to go to face select by clicking here for face select. What we're going to do is we're going to press C for paint select. That circle that just popped up is our area of influence for the paint select. So what we're going to do is roll the mouse wheel to shrink that area of influence. We're going to click here. We're then going to roll the mouse wheel to shrink the paint select. Click here. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select. I've right clicked to get out of paint select because I wanted to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. I'm going to hold Shift and middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel again to zoom in some more. I'm doing some fine selection here, so we still have face select on. So, whoops. I want to hold Shift. I just hit Control. So I'm going to hold down Shift and then click here. Okay, now I'm letting go of Shift. Okay, I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan the view. So now I'm holding Shift again. I'm holding Shift because Shift allows you to select more than one face at a time. So while I'm holding Shift, I'm just clicking these faces. I'm still holding Shift. Now I'm holding the middle mouse button to pan the view. Now I'm letting go of Shift. Okay, I'm holding Shift again. I'm clicking here. All of these faces, I'm now letting go of Shift. Okay, I'm holding Shift again and I'm clicking the rest of these faces so that I have most of the hood selected. Okay, what I'm going to do now is hold Control as well as hold my middle mouse button to zoom out. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. With all of these faces selected here, I'm going to press the E key. I'm then going to right click. And what I did is when I pressed the E key, I extruded, which made new geometry. And then when I right clicked, that new geometry stayed in its original position. Okay, I'm going to hold the mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to press C for paint select, and I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and deselect right here, these faces. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select. Now I extruded this area right here. The reason why I deselected this was we're about to pull this geometry up. However, I didn't want this part of the geometry to be pulled up, even though it is extruded. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press G, then I'm going to press Z, and then I'm going to hold down Shift. So I'm currently holding Shift. Now I'm going to move my mouse up because I'm holding Shift. This gives us fine movement. I'm then going to left click to lock that movement in, then let go of Shift. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, so why did we pull this geometry up? The reason why we pulled this up is we want there to be a hard line right here. We want this to also be distinctive. So one way to do that is to do what we did. We extruded this geometry. However, we want this to be even more prominent. So what we're going to do is I'm going to hover the mouse here. I'm going to hold Shift. While holding Shift, I'm going to press B. I'm then going to hold down the left mouse button and draw a box right here to zoom in. The reason why I zoomed in is I wanted to be able to see this right here, which is the side of our geometry that's extruded up. Okay, so why do we want to see the side of this geometry? We want to put a loop cut right here. So I'm going to hold Control. While holding Control, I'm going to press R. You can see the loop cut preview there. So I'm going to move my mouse. There we go, right there. I'm going to left click once and then left click a second time to lock that loop cut in. I'm going to roll the mouse to zoom back. Just taking a look at that. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to press A to deselect. Right here, we want to have a nice circular shape going around the tire. We have this shape that we set up here before. However, it would be a lot of work to try to smooth this out to make this very circular. So what we're going to do is we're going to click here to go to face select. We're going to click here. We're then going to hold Shift. While holding Shift, we're going to press S. This brings up our Snap to menu. We're then going to choose Cursor to selected and then left click here. So now our 3D cursor is right here. Okay, the reason why we put our 3D cursor here is because in Blender, where the 3D cursor is at is where objects tend to come into Blender at. So what we're going to do is we're going to press A to deselect. We're going to hold Shift. While holding Shift, we're going to press A. This brings up our Add To menu, and then we're going to go to Circle. So we're going to left click here on Circle. We have our options here. We have, for our vertices, we have 32. We're going to leave that like it is. We're then going to press R to rotate on the Y axis, 9, 0, and then press Enter to lock that in. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to click here to go to right view. When we went to right view, now we can see our reference image. We want to shrink this circle some so our circle is still selected. You can tell it's selected because it's highlighted orange. So we're going to press A to scale it down some. So I do not have this. You can see how it is. It's not touching the tire. It's close to the tire, and it's for the most part where we want it to be, which is not too far away from the tire, however fairly close to this edge right here. Okay, so with our circle right here, what we want to do is click here to go to vertices select, and then what we're going to do is press E to extrude. We're going to right click to keep that extruded geometry in place. We're then going to press S to scale, and then scale this geometry out. I'm then going to left click. So I took the geometry right to where it's about, here. I tried to match it up fairly close with the reference image. Okay, what we're going to do now is hover our mouse here. We're going to hold Shift. While holding Shift, we're going to press B. I'm then going to left click and drag a box right here to zoom in. I'm now going to go to face select. I'm going to hover here. I'm then going to press L. Because I pressed L, I selected that entire piece of geometry. I'm now going to hold Shift. While holding shift, I'm going to press H. And what that did was that made Blender hide everything but our currently selected geometry here. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to press Z. We're then going to go to wireframe. If you look here, you can see that we pretty much have just about a perfect circle right here. See right here where this is straight here, but there's a diagonal line here. This is straight here. When I say this, I'm talking about the reference image behind, but there's a diagonal line there. So what we're going to do is press A to deselect. We're going to press C for paint select, and then we're going to select all of these faces right here. So then I'm going to right click to get out of paint select. Okay, now I'm going to press X to bring up our delete menu. I'm then going to choose faces to delete. Okay, so now what we're going to do is click here to go to edge select. We're going to then click here. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z-axis 0, and then left click just to straighten that out right there, that edge. I'm then going to left click here. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z-axis 0, and then press enter to straighten that out right there as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press O to turn on the proportional editing tool. I'm going to make sure I'm on edge select, which I am. I'm going to click here. I'm going to press G. I'm going to roll the area of influence to make it bigger. I'm just going to move this to about here. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm then going to click here, press G. Then move that to about there. Click here. I'm going to press G again. Click here. Press G. Click here. Then press G. I'm going to left click to lock that in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, what I'm going to do now is press the O key to turn off the proportional editing tool. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm then going to press Z and then select solid to go to solid view mode. Okay, now I'm going to click here to go to face select. I'm going to hover here. I'm then going to press L to select that entire piece of geometry there. I'm then going to press E to extrude. I'm then going to right click. When I press E to extrude, I made new geometry. I right click to get that new geometry to stay in place. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Now I'm going to take the manipulator and just push over to extrude this geometry. I'm going to hover here, press L to select this piece of geometry again. The shading looks kind of strange. A lot of times when the shading doesn't look right, Blender's trying to tell you your normals are not correct. Normals are the direction that your polygons are facing. So we can fix that by holding control, and then while holding control, pressing the N key. And now you can see the shading looks correct. Okay, what we're going to do now is click here to go back to right view. I'm going to roll the middle mouse button to zoom out. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. Okay, with our shape still selected, I'm going to hold shift. While holding shift, I'm going to press D. I'm then going to right click. When I press shift D, I duplicated that object. I right click to get it to stay in place. Now I'm going to take the manipulator and pull this over to here. Let me zoom in by rolling the middle mouse wheel. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan the view. I'm going to press G and then X. Hold shift for fine movement. Okay, I'm holding shift. I'm going to right click. I actually want to press G and then Y. So X is in and out. We want to go front and back. So I'm going to press G, Y, then hold shift. There we go. So then I'm going to left click to lock that in place. I'm now letting go of shift. I'm now going to press A to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do now is hover our mouse here. We're going to hold shift. While holding shift, we're going to press B. I'm going to draw a zoom box right here. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom back some. I'm going to go to edge select. I'm going to click right here. I'm going to hold shift and click here as well as here. Now I'm going to let go of shift. I'm going to click here to go to vertice select. I'm going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, I'm going to press D. I'm then going to right click to get that geometry to stay in place. What I did was I grabbed edges, right? So edges, I grabbed this as edges because it was easier to grab as edges. I clicked vertice select so I could go to vertice select. Then I hit shift D so this would be a separate object from here, right? So now that these vertices here are a separate object, I'm going to click here, go to face select. I'll press A to select everything. A again to make sure nothing is selected. It looks like our edges that we duplicated aren't there, but they should be there. I'm going to hover here, and I'm putting my mouse right on this edge so I can try to dodge those vertices. I'm now going to press, oh, I didn't dodge them. I pressed L, pressing L again. Now I'm going to press H to hide, and I'm going to go to vertice select. You can see our vertices are right here. So I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. I'm going to click here and then push this vertice down some like that. Okay, so if you're wondering, like, why do we have these vertices here? We have these vertices here because we want to make this shape right here. I'm going to hold shift and the mouse button pan. We want to make this shape right here. So that's why we have these vertices here. So it was easier to duplicate the vertices, plus the vertices were in this general shape. It was easier to duplicate them to get these vertices than it would have been to bring in something like a plane and then, select one vertice, delete the other vertices just to have one vertice. So that's why I duplicated those vertices. So now what we want to do is we have this vertice here selected, right? We want to outline this shape here. So with that vertice selected, I'm going to hold control, and then while holding control, I'm going to click right here, right? I'm letting go of control. The reason why I clicked right here, see how straight this path is right here? Now we start to have a curve right here. So I was like, okay, this is straight, and this for the most part is straight. So we're going to, with this selected, we're about to, do the same thing right here. So what I'm going to do now is hold control. While holding control, I'm going to right click right here. And when we hold control and right click, Blender will automatically extrude an edge and then put a vertice right where we right click at. Okay, I'm going to hold control as well as hold the middle mouse button to zoom back. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. So basically what we're going to do is this is straight, this is straight, this is straight. So we'll put a vertice here, here, here. Once we come down to here, we're going to look at this vertice right here. And now we're not going to be just thinking in terms of being straight. We're going to think in terms of where is the vertice here, right? It's kind of hard to see what's going on here. So this is our right view. And when I say hard to see, I'm talking about hard to see the vertices. So I'm going to scroll this up. I'm looking for the right view. So here's our right view. Our opacity is set for 0.500. We're going to left click, drag this down. So now we can see our vertices better. However, we can still see our reference image as well. Okay, so we have this vertice selected. So I'm going to hold control. So I'm right clicking here, right clicking here, right clicking here, right clicking here. I'm looking at this vertice here. I'm trying to think, do I want to put it right here? Doesn't really matter if I put it here or if I put it here. I'm still thinking there. I'm going to put it here. So I'm going to right click here. So now we're looking at this vertice. So I'm going to put this next vertice right underneath this one. So I'm going to right click here as well. I'm going to let go of control. Now I'm going to hold shift. While holding shift, I'm going to left click on that vertice. I'm letting go of shift. So I have this vertice selected as well as that vertice selected. And the reason why I have these two vertices selected is so now I can press F. And now I just, manually with F filled in this edge in between those two vertices. So now I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, so now that we have these vertices here, I'm going to hold them in the mouse button and rotate the view. You can see that these vertices are just vertices and edges. We need to have faces be filled in here. So what we're going to do is click here to go to edge select. We're going to hold Alt, and then while holding Alt, we're going to click on this edge. I'm going to let go of Alt now. Because I was holding Alt, this selected that entire edge loop. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to hold Control, and then while holding Control, I'm going to press F. This brought up our faces menu. I'm then going to select grid fill. And basically what this does is if I had just pressed F, we would have just a flat plane, but we wouldn't have this extra geometry in case we want to change things. Also, just having this geometry makes this easier to work with. This darkness here is the normals aren't facing out. We want these normals to be facing out. So we can hold Control, and then while holding Control, press N. And then what that did was that recalculated the normals. So now these normals are facing outward, which is what we want. Okay, now we have this shape here. However, with this shape, if you look, this is totally flat. So what we want to do is press E to extrude, then right click. So we just made new geometry. We right clicked so that geometry would stay in place. And now we're going to take this manipulator and just push to the side some. And when I did that, you can see the normals, again, are not correct. However, we have the thickness we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to hover over this our piece of mesh here, press L. We're going to hold Control. While holding Control, we're going to press N. And what that did was Blender recalculated the normals. I'm now going to press A to deselect. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press A to select everything. I'm going to pull this out to the side more. I'm then going to hold Alt, and while holding Alt, press H. And I pulled these out to the side just because I figured when this came in, they might be in a little bit too much. So I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hover here, press L. I'm then going to push this over with the manipulator. I'm going to let go because I'm going to move this with more fine control. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to press G, and then I'm going to press X. And then while that is activated, see that preview line, I'm going to hold Shift. So now when I move my mouse, I have fine control. I'm going to left click. I'm going to press G and then X and then hold Shift again and push over more. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to face select. I'm going to click here, hold Shift, click here, 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 as well as here. Zoom in and click there as well. There was a little piece, you can't really see it behind the tire, but I could see it. So with that selected, I'm going to pull this out slightly here. Now I'm going to click here, hold them in the mouse button, rotate. I'm going to hold Shift. While holding Shift, click these two pieces of geometry and pull these out to the side, some there. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, what I'm going to do now is make sure we're on face select, which we are. I'm going to hover here. I'm going to press L. I'm then going to press G and then X. I press G for move and then X so I am locked into the X axis. So I just am pushing, directly to the side. I'm then going to left click to lock that in. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to take a look. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button as well as Control to zoom out. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to click here to go to our front view. I'm going to hold Shift as well as the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to hold Control and the middle mouse button to zoom in. I'm looking at how our mesh is coming out here. I'm going to hold them in the mouse button to rotate. I'm going to hover here, press L, hover here, press L, and then going to press H. I'm then going to click here to go back to front view. So what I'm going to do is press Z and then go to wireframe. I'm going to press B for box select. I'm going to select right here. Press Z to go back to solid view. I think I need to grab this edge as well, so I'm going to press hover here so I can see this before I go to Z because it's going to be difficult to see. I'm going to press Z, then wireframe it right here. I'm going to press B for box select, come down and drag right here. Press Z, go back to solid view. Okay, I'm going to press G and then X. You want to be careful you don't cross over. Have edges cross over. So I'm going to press. I'm going to hold them the mouse button to rotate the view. Okay, I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hover here. I'm going to press L to select right here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is press G, then X. I'm going to hold Shift and then just push this over as well as into the mesh of our main car mesh some. I'm then going to left click to lock that in. I'm going to let go of Shift now. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to click here to go to front view. We're going to look at this shape right here. I'm going to hover the mouse here. I'm going to hold Shift while holding Shift, press B. I'm going to draw a zoom box to zoom in. We're going to click here on vertice, select. We're going to click this vertex right here. We're going to push this over and push this up, push this over. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click this vertex right here. Then click front view. Then I'm going to push this vertex to here. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to take a look at what is going on here. Okay, I'm going to go back to front view. What I want to do is I want to extrude this shape and then have this shape go in. Because we have this mirror modifier on, I want to have this split basically. I want to have this face come apart from this face. So what we're going to have to do is unclick this check mark next to clipping. We're going to go to face select. We're going to click here. We're going to hold Shift. While holding Shift, we're going to click here. With these two faces selected, we're going to press E to extrude. We're then going to right click. We're then going to press S to scale. I'm going to left click to lock that in. Because I had the clipping turned off, we have the space right here. I'm going to return on the clipping by putting the check mark right there back. I'm now going to press E to extrude, right click to get the new geometry to stay in place. I'm then going to press S to scale like this in. I'm then going to press S to scale in the X axis like that. I'm then going to left click to lock that in. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm doing this because I want to be able to see this extruding in. I'm going to press E to extrude. I'm going to right click to get that geometry to stay in place. I'm now going to push in like that. I'm then going to press S to scale like that. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to hold Control and the middle mouse button to zoom in. We have face select on. I'm going to click here, hold Shift. I'm going to click here, 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 as well as here. I'm going to let go of Shift. Okay, I'm going to press E to extrude. I'm going to right click to get that extrusion to stay in place. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button, rotate the view slightly. I'm going to take the manipulator and pull this geometry forward like that. And I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do now is click here to go back to front view. We're going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. We're going to make sure we're on face select, which we are. We're going to click here, hold shift and click here as well as here. We're then going to press E to extrude. I'm then going to right click to lock that extrusion in place. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here, then go to edge select. I'm going to click here, hold shift and click here as well as here. I'm going to pull this to the side like this. See this line right here? This is what I'm trying to match this up with. I'm going to press R to rotate. I'm then going to left click to lock that in place, then take the manipulator and pull this over like that. I'm going to press R to rotate again and then left click to lock that in. Hold the mouse button to take a look. I'll click here to go back to front view. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to take a look. We're going to click here to go to face select. Let's click here to go back to front view. We're going to click here by holding. We're going to click here first. Now we're going to hold shift and click here as well as here. We're now going to press E to extrude. We're going to right click to get that extrusion to stay in place. Because we made new geometry there, we can press S to scale like that. We're then going to left click to get that geometry to stay in place. We're now going to press E to extrude again. Right click to get the geometry to stay in place. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Then I'm going to take the manipulator to pull this geometry back like that. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do is click here to go back to front view. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to click here to go to edge select. I'm going to click here, hold shift and click here as well as here. I'm going to take the manipulator and push this over some like that. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here to go to face select. I'm going to click here, hold shift, and then while holding shift, click here as well as here. I'm going to let go of shift. I'm going to press E to extrude. I'm going to right click to keep that extruded geometry in place, the new geometry that we made from extruding. I'm then going to press S to scale like this. I'm then going to left click to lock that in place. I'm then going to press E to extrude and then move my mouse to move that extruded geometry back. I'm going to left click. You can see it coming out the side some there. So I'm going to take this and pull this geometry that way. So I just took the manipulator and just pulled the geometry so it wasn't coming out the side there. I'm going to press A to deselect now. So I'm going to click here to go back to front view. I'm going to hold control as well as the middle mouse button to zoom back. I'm going to hold shift and middle mouse button to pan. I'm now going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel again to zoom back more. Okay, when we look here, it looks like there's supposed to be some type of vent system here. So I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to click here. I'm going to unclick clipping here. I'm going to press E to extrude. I'm then going to right click to keep that geometry in place. I'm then going to press S to scale. I'm then going to left click to lock that in. I scaled and took the clipping off because I wanted this space right here. So now that I have that space, I'm going to click here to put that check mark back to have clipping turned back on again. Okay, so what we're going to do now is let's press S to scale on the Z axis like that. I'm then going to left click to lock that scale in. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm just doing this so I can get a better view as I extrude back. I'm going to press E to extrude. I'm going to right click to keep that extrusion in place. I'm going to pull back like that. Then with this face selected, I'm going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, I'm going to press D. I'm then going to right click to keep that duplicate in place. So that's what when I press Shift D, I duplicated this plane right here. Okay, the reason why I duplicated that plane, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to push this out. So I could push this out, I'm going to hold Control as well as the middle mouse button to zoom in. I'm going to hold Shift and middle mouse button to pan. Because this is a plane, now what I can do is I can hold Control. Then while holding Control, I can put a loop cut in, right? See that loop cut? I want it to be vertical. So then I'm going to roll the mouse wheel like that. I'm then going to left click. Then left click a second time to lock those loop cuts in. Okay, I'm not sure how many loop cuts I put in here. Put as many loop cuts as you think, looks decent. I'm going to hold Control as well as the middle mouse button to zoom in. I'm going to press A to deselect. Now we can select, what we need to do is select every other face here, right? There's an easy way that Blender lets us do this rather than just manually doing this. There's not that many here, so it's not that difficult. But suppose you had a whole lot to do. One of the ways you can select every other face here is by going to face select, right? Hovering here, pressing L to select this whole shape, then going to select, and then see where it says checker deselect. I'm going to left click there, and now you can see that Blender has selected every other face for us, which is nice. So with these faces selected, I'm going to hold Shift. Then while holding Shift, I'm going to press D, and then I'm going to right click to duplicate those faces. The reason why I did that was I wanted these to be separated from the face behind there. So now I'm going to press E to extrude. I'm going to right click to get that extrusion to stay in place. I'm then going to push forward like this. Now I'm going to, with all of these faces still selected, I'm going to hold Control, and while holding Control, I'm going to press L. And then now what I'm going to do is take the manipulator and push these back here. Like that. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make sure we're on face select. I'm going to hover here. I'm going to press L. Then I'm going to press X to bring up our delete menu. I'm then going to choose faces to delete. Okay, what we're going to do now is hold Shift and middle mouse button to pan. With face select on, I'm going to hold Alt. I'm going to click on this edge loop so I can select all of this geometry here. I'm also going to press C and paint select the geometry that's inside of the view here. I held the middle mouse button to rotate the view so I could grab this geometry that inside here. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select so I can rotate the view. Press C, right click. Okay, I grabbed all this geometry because I want to push this back some. So I'm going to take the manipulator and pull that back like that. Okay, I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to click here to go to the back view. I'm going to zoom back some. I'm going to go to edge select. I'm going to click here, hold Shift, then click here. Then I'm going to take the manipulator and pull this up like that. I'm now going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to click here to go back to back view. I click here, push that down like that. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold Shift and middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to click here. I'm not going to spend too much time on this back part. I held Shift to select these multiple faces. I'm going to press E to extrude. I'm going to right click to lock that extrusion in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, what I'm going to do now is go to edge select. I'm going to click here, hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm then going to push in some like that. I'm now going to press A to deselect. So I'm going to roll back to zoom back. Zoom in here. What I'm going to do here is thinking, okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to face select. I'm going to click here. I'm going to hold shift. While holding shift, I'm going to press D. I'm going to right click to get this geometry to stay in place. Then I'm going to pull this to the side. I'm going to press R to rotate on the Y axis 9, 0. Then left click to lock that in. I'm then going to press S to scale on the X axis 0. And then left click to lock that in. I'm now going to press R to rotate on the Z axis 9, 0. And then left click to lock that in. I'm going to take the manipulator and pull this to the side some more like that. Okay, I did all that movement just to get this out to the side so we can make some mirrors up. So I'm going to go to front view. I'm going to move this over like this. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis. Like that. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to go to edge select. I'm going to click here. Push this to the side like that. I'm going to click to go to the right view. I just held the middle mouse button so I could see this again. I'm going to hold control. While holding control, I'm going to press L. I'm going to click here to go back to the right view. I'm going to click here. Put this around here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. We're going to press E to extrude. I'm then going to right click to keep that new geometry in place. I'm going to pull this way like that. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hover here. I'm going to press L. I'm going to hold shift. While holding shift, I'm going to press D. I'm going to right click. I'm going to rotate this. Whoops. Press Y. Like that. I'm going to press S to scale on the Y axis like this. Let's go back to right view. Let's go like this. Let's press S to scale on the Y axis like that. Now we're going to go to face select. We're going to click here. Grab this. Pull this down like that. Let's go back to right view. Let's hover here, press Control, then L. Move that up. That back some. I'm going to hold shift, press H. I'm going to grab this face right here. Manipulator's getting in my way. There we go. I'm going to press S to scale on the X axis 0 to flatten that out as far as like left and right. I'm going to hold Alt, then press H. Okay, brought everything back. I'm going to hover here, press L. Pull this out. Click here. Make this a little bit shorter. Press A. Deselect. I'm going to hover here again. Press L. Well, not, yeah, press L to select it and push this in like this. We have this little piece here coming out, so we can go to edge select. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'll click here, take this edge and push that back. There we go. taking a look at it. I press A to deselect. I was looking at this thinking, I was like, oh, I can just make the arm for this mirror right from this. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click here. I'm going to press E to extrude. I'm going to right click. Keep that geometry in place. I'm going to press S to scale. Left click. I'm then going to press E to extrude. Right click to keep the geometry in place. I'm then going to move this back. Like that. I'll press A to deselect. We have this piece here sticking out. I'm going to click here. Grab there. Just push that like that. I'll press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to hover here. I'm going to hold control. While holding control, I'm going to press R to put a loop cut in. I'm going to left click to lock that in partially. Because I only left click one time, I can move this loop cut. So I'm going to move it this direction. I'm going to left click a second time to totally lock that in. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to press S to scale. Like that. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. I'm going to go to phase select. I'm going to hover here. I'm going to press L. I'm going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, press H. And what that does is that hides everything but we currently have selected. Okay, what we're going to do now is click here to go to right view. We need to put a loop cut here so that we can kind of put an anchor right here. We need a loop cut here. When I say anchor, we want this geometry to stay here because the curve is here, not here. So right where this is flat, right where this flat point is ending, we want a loop cut right there. So I'm going to hold control. While holding control, press R. I'm going to left click once because I left click once. I can move this loop cut to right there. I want this to be straight up and down. So I'm going to press S to scale on the Y axis 0. Then left click to lock that in. So that just makes that straight. That S to scale on the Y axis did that. I want another lock right here. So I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold control. While holding control, I'm going to press R. I'm going to left click a second time to lock this in. I don't want that curve there. So I'm going to press S to scale on the Y axis 0 to put this in. Now, if I pull this top right here, if I just grab this top right here will move, right? This piece, which I like how this is, close to this line here. So what I'm going to do is press G twice. And now this is called an edge slide. And what an edge slide does is it allows you to move a loop without causing the loop to stretch and pull, so to say. So I'm going to leave this like that. So when I did the edge slide, by the way, I just pressed G twice. That's how I did that. So now what I'm going to do is press A to deselect. I'm going to hover here. I'm going to hold control. While holding control, I'm going to press R. And then I'm going to left click. Move this to here. That curve is okay. I'm going to leave that. I'm going to hover here. Hold control, then press R. I'm going to left click once because I only left click once. I can move this. And then I'm going to left click to lock that in. I'm going to press A to deselect. If I grab the edge here and pull this up, I'll cross over this edge here. That'll cause issues. I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is press the O key to turn on the proportional editing tool. I'm going to rotate the view by holding the middle mouse button. I'm going to click the bottom here. Click right view to go back to right view. And now I'm going to press G. And then let me press Z. So I go right up. And I'm just putting this bottom with this line here. I'm going to press A to deselect. I held the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm going to click here. Click here to go back to right view. I'm going to press G. Let's move this up. Let me press Z. There we go. Now left click to lock that in. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to click here to go to right view. Then I'm going to press G and actually X. Oh, sorry. I'm going to press G and then Y to move this way somewhat. Now I'm going to press G and then Z. can see the preview line right there. Push this up like that. Then I'm going to left click to lock that in. I'm going to press A to deselect. So this was a little bit over here, so I pressed G. I did a mess up. Then I hit G, then Y to do right, and I pushed the line this way. Then I pressed G, then Z to push this up like that. Okay, I'm going to press O to turn off the proportional editing tool. I'm then going to hold Alt. While holding Alt, I'm going to press H to unhide our geometry. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here to go to phase select. I'm then going to hover here. I'm going to press L. Then I'm going to hover here. I'm then going to press L as well. I am then going to press P to bring up our separate menu. I'm then going to choose selection. So I took these shapes and I made them into their own separate objects. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click here. I'm going to go to object mode. I'm going to click here. You can tell this is selected because this has an orange outline around it. We're currently in local mode. I'm actually going to click here. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button. I'm going to click here again. Now I'm going to click here to go back into local mode. Good. So now I'm going to click here, then go to edit mode, right? Here in edit mode, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover here. I'm going to hold control. While holding control, I'm going to press R. That put a loop cut in. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel once. I'm then going to left click. I'm then going to left click a second time to lock that in. I'm going to press S to scale on the X axis to spread the loop cuts just a little. I'm now going to hold Alt, and then while holding Alt, press S. This is kind of a special kind of scale that makes things get thinner or less wide or more thick. So I'm going to pull my mouse down. I'm then going to left click to lock in that scale that I did right there. Okay, what I'm going to do now is press A to deselect. I'm going to click here. I'm then going to click here. I'm now going to click here to go to right view. With this face selected, I'm going to press E to extrude. I'm going to right click to get that geometry to stay in place. I'm then going to press S to scale to there. I'm then going to left click to lock that scale in. Okay, you can see from here we have the general, size of the inner part of the wheel. I'm going to hold the mouse button, rotate the view. I'm going to press E to extrude. I'm going to right click to get that geometry to stay in place. I'm going to press S to scale in some. Then I'm going to take the manipulator and push in some like that. Okay, what I'm going to do is click here to go back to right view. I'm going to press E to extrude and then right click. And now what I'm going to do is press S to scale in like that. I'm then going to left click to lock that scale in. Okay, I'm going to hold the mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to zoom in some like this. I'm going to take this manipulator and pull out some like that. I'm just holding the mouse button to take a look. I'm going to click here to go back to right view. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press E to extrude. I'm going to right click, hold the mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to press S to scale like this. I'm going to press E to extrude, push in, press E to extrude again, press S to scale. Then I'm going to press E to extrude, pull out something like that. Then I'm going to press S to scale again. So I'm not exactly going with the reference. I just wanted to put that detail in there, that extra detail. Okay, with face select on, I'm going to press C for paint select. I'm going to select all this geometry right here. I'm going to rotate the view by holding the middle mouse button just to make sure I have all of this geometry selected. Okay, with all that geometry selected, I'm going to press Y. And when I press Y, I separated that geometry there. So even though it didn't move, this geometry, this piece of geometry is separated from this piece. Okay, so now with that done, what I'm going to do is press A to deselect. I'm going to hover here. I'm going to hold control. While holding control, I'm going to press R to put a loop cut here. I'm going to left click. I'm going to pull to make this loop cut bigger. I'm going to left click right there. Now I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here. I'm now going to click here for all of these pieces here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here. Then I'm going to select individual origins. The reason why I did that is if I extrude these, they'll all extrude as one piece in. When I click individual origins, I set it up so that when I do a special kind of extrude called extrude regions, I can scale each of these individually and get a lot of detail fairly quickly as well as easily. So I'm going to hold Alt. While holding Alt, I'm going to press E. This brings up our extrude menu. I'm going to select individual faces. Then I'm going to right click to get that geometry to stay in place. And now what I can do is press S to scale. Like that. And then I'm going to left click to lock that scale in. Okay, now with those pieces of geometry still selected, I'm going to press E to extrude. And then just push in and then left click to lock that in. I'll then press A to deselect. Okay, what we want to do now is hover here, press L, and then with this selected, hold Shift, then while holding Shift, press H. And what that did was that just hid everything but the visible part of our geometry. We want to hold Control, and then while holding Control, press B. And then we want to hold Shift and pull our mouse just slightly. I'm then going to left click to lock that in. And what that is we put a bevel on this. You can see the bevel options right here. With these bevel options here, where it says profile 0.500, you want to click here. You want to enter 1 and then press enter. Where it says segments 1, you want to click here and change this to 2. Now I'm going to press A to deselect there. Okay, now I'm going to hold Alt and then while holding Alt, press H to unhide our other geometry. Then I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, what I'm going to do now is click here to go to the right view. I'm going to zoom back. I'm going to hover here. We have our individual origins still turned on for our median, for our not our median point, our pivot point. I'm thinking median point because Blender's default pivot point is the median point. That's what you want to turn this back to. So with our face select on, we want to hover here, press L, press X to bring up our delete menu, then choose faces to delete. Then what we want to do is press Z, go to wireframe, hover here, press B for box select, draw a box right here, hold Shift and then press D to duplicate this tire, right click, and then once we have this duplicated, this whole selection, we're going to take our manipulator and pull this into place right here. So then we'll press A to deselect there. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to press Z, go to solid view mode. We're going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. We're going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan the view. We currently have a mirror modifier on these tires. If we click here, we can select subdivision surface, which is what we want. However, there's another way we can do that. We're going to press A to select the tires. We're then going to hold control. While holding control, we're going to press 2. That put a subdivision surface modifier on here with a view of 2, a render of 2. We're going to want to click this as well. We're then going to press Z and select shade smooth. We're then going to press A to deselect. We're then going to click here and then click here to go to object mode. Okay, what we're going to do now that we're here in object mode is we're still in local mode. We're going to click here where it says view global / local. We'll left click here. Now we can see our car here with our tires. Okay, what we want to do now is click on our car. and then click here to go into the edit mode for our car. So with our car, what we want to do now with this is we want to press A to select our car, and then we want to put a subdivision surface modifier on our car. So we're going to hold control, and then while holding control, we're going to press 2. So now we have a subdivision surface modifier on our car. We want to click this to make it look like the modifier is applied. We then also want to press Z and then select shade smooth to have the shading for our car be smooth. So now we're going to press A to deselect. Okay, when you put a subdivision surface on something, particularly something mechanical, often you want some areas to be smooth for the mechanical mesh that you're using. Other areas you want to be soft. So normally what you could do is you could go around and select edges. This is called hard edge modeling. And long story short, it just means you grab the edges and make them hard. It's just a technique that you use. Most of the time you select the edges yourself. However, there is another way to do this. So I'm going to zoom in. I can click this eye and make it look like the subdivision surface modifier isn't on. Like the subdivision surface modifier doesn't show its effects when this eye is turned off. So what I want is this hard edge right here. So I'm going to click here. And then I'm going to click here on this edge right here. And I'm clicking this edge because this is a very steep edge as far as between here and here. Okay, this is a technique I learned from CG Cookie. I believe this was Kent Trammell. I love this technique. It's very quick. So I selected this edge right here. All right, now here's the thing. I am selecting an edge. Remember that. You're selecting an edge, not a face, right? Even though I'm selecting an edge and not a face, what I'm going to do now is with this edge selected, this sharp edge, I'm going to click Select. I'm going to go to Select Similar. And even though I have an edge, I am going to face angles, okay? So I selected an edge, but I'm clicking on face angles. So when I click on this, now we have this menu right here for Select Similar, where it has this threshold right here. The default threshold is 0.010. When I click here, I find that when I put in 0.7 and then enter, this gives me a very nice selection of hard edges. There is some cleanup that you want to do with this. When I say cleanup, what I mean is just deselecting edges. One of the things you want to do is hold the middle mouse button, go right to the back, zoom in, hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan, roll the mouse wheel to zoom in, hold shift, while on edge select, deselect this edge right there because that will cause you issues. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel back. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate back towards the front. I'm going to hold control as well as the middle mouse button to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to hold control and the middle mouse button to zoom in again. You want this area to be selected. So you don't want to click face, right? What you want to do for what I'm about to do here is hold shift, and then while holding shift, click face. So now I have edge as well as face selected. So with these both selected at the same time, now you want to press C and you want to select this area right here. All this area right here, you want this selected. So I'm going to right click to get out of paint select. Okay, so I'm going to click here so we can see the subdivision surface modifier working. I'm going to press C. I'm going to click paint here. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view, hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan the view. I'm going to press C to select there as well as here. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm just taking a look. I'm going to hold shift and deselect right there. I'm letting go of shift now. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to hold the middle mouse button, rotate the view. We're going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan back. I'm going to hold shift to deselect here. I'm going to hold shift and deselect that edge as well. Zoom in, hold shift and middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to hold shift and deselect there. I'm going to hold control and the middle mouse button now to zoom back. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan the view. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to hold control. While holding control, we're going to press B. We're going to hold shift, pull our mouse slightly, left click to lock that in. Our bevel menu pops up over here where we see profile. We're going to click here. We're going to change that from 0.5 to 1. So I just pressed 1. Now I'm pressing enter. Where we see segments here, we see 1 there. We're just going to click this arrow to go to two segments. So now we can press A to deselect. And now when we click here to go back to object mode, we can see that our car has soft curve edges as well as hard edges. Okay, what we're going to do now is put some textures on our car. Currently we're in the Blender renderer. We want to click here and change this to cycles render. Okay, here in the cycles render, we're going to zoom back some. We're going to hold shift, and while holding shift, we're going to press C. Just to put our 3D cursor right here in the center of the view, we're going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, we're going to press A. This brings up our add to menu. We're going to select mesh and then plane to bring a plane in. We're then going to press S to scale, pull our mouse. I'm going to left click, move my mouse up, and then press S to scale and then pull the mouse again. I'm then going to left click to lock that scale in. Okay, now what we're going to do is zoom back some. We're going to right click right here. We're going to hold shift. While holding shift, we're going to press A, which brings up our add to menu. We're then going to select plane. We're then going to press S to scale in the X axis. I'm going to press S to scale in the X axis again, like this. And lower this down, push this up some like that. Okay, we're going to use this as a light. So what we want to do is have multiple versions of this. Let me push this forward more. I'm going to click here. I'm going to click here to add an array modifier. This is our array modifier here. The reason why you see this looking like it's longer is because there's two versions of this side by side. One the actual and one the made by the array. That's by this one here. I'm going to click here, change this to 0. As soon as I press 0, and then press enter, you'll see 1 again. We want this to move this way. So as in front and back, so we'll go to where we see Y here. We'll click here, we'll change this to 1. So we'll press enter. So now we see that. So now what we can do is left click and drag. And now we can see these lights, these planes that are going to be our light is separated now. So now where we see this count of 2, we see 2 here. 2 there, we can click to take this up. Let's take it up to 8. Okay, we made these planes to be lights. The way we can do that is we can click here on our material tab. We can click new. And then where we see the fuse, we can click here and then change this to emission. You can't see it now, but now these lights are... these planes are set up to be lights. When I hold shift and then Z, this makes us enter into rendered mode. You can kind of see the lights there actually putting light down on our car. So I'm going to hold shift and then press Z again to go back to our regular, solid view mode that you see here. Okay, so I'm going to hold control as well as the middle mouse button to zoom into our car. I'm going to hold shift and middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to hold control and the middle mouse button to zoom up closer. I'm going to click here, then click here, and then click here. So what I want with this is I'm going to click just face select. I'm going to hover here, then press L. I'm then going to press H to hide that geometry right there. Okay, so what we want to do is we have, we're in our edit mode, right? So let's click use nodes. So we have this diffuse BS BSDF, right? We have our material here. We're going to leave this as it is. We're going to go to the right plus. There's two pluses as you see. This one here below, this one to the right. You want the right plus. You're going to click this. You're then going to click new, okay? Now what you're going to do is you're going to make sure you're on face select. You're going to hover here. And then while hovered over here, you're going to press L. You're then going to click on this white color bar. You're going to click here. And you're going to take this and move this down so this isn't totally black, but close to it. You're then going to click assign. And now with that done, it should be that when we hold shift then press Z, we can see we have our color on our wheel. I'm going to hold shift Z. I'm going to actually lighten this up some. I'm going to hold shift Z again. Yeah, I like it a little bit better like that. I'm going to hold shift Z again to go back to our regular view here. Okay, depending on what kind of computer you have, if you have a NVIDIA card in your computer like I do, you might be able to click here, go to where you see CPU, and then click here and change this to GPU compute. This just tends to make things faster when using cycles. Okay, what I'm going to do now is press A to deselect. I'm going to hold Alt. While holding Alt, I'm going to press H to bring back this geometry. And with this, I'm going to actually press A to deselect it. I'm going to click on our material tab. So we have our regular material. We have this material here, which is our tire material. Now we're going to click plus. We're going to click new. Where we see this diffuse BSDF, we're going to click here. And we are looking for mix shader. So we're going to left click on mix shader. Okay, and with this mix shader, what this does, this allows us to blend two different colors together. So we're going to click here. We're going to select glossy BSDF for the first shader. Then we're going to click here on the second shader. For this shader, we're going to select diffuse BSDF. Okay, to make things easier to work, we're going to hover right here. It looks kind of like a triangle. There's a little striped menu here. We're going to hold down our mouse. I'm going to left click and hold and then pull. And then what that does is Blender splits these two windows. So it's the same window here as well as here. I'm going to take this away here. So I'm going to press the T key. I want to take this away. So I'm going to press the N key to take that away. Okay, so with these windows split now, let me hover here, make this a little smaller. I'll zoom back here. I'm going to hover here, hold shift, and while holding shift, I'm going to press Z. Now we can see a rendered view right here. So what we're going to do now with this color that we just made is we're going to make sure we're on face select. We're going to hover here. We're going to press L. So we use this window as a work window. We use this window here as a window to see what's going on. So with this material here selected, we're going to click assign. And we can see normally, so you really can't see too much here. Currently, this grain that you see here, that's caused by, I'm going to click here. See where we see sampling here? When I click here, I'm going to take this preview from 32 to 200 and then press enter. You can see these numbers here going up. The more these numbers go up, the clearer this image here will get. So with this selected here, I'm going to go back to here. For this diffuse, I'm going to actually click here, and I'm going to change this to glossy as well. I'm then going to click this color and make the color a little bit more gray like that. Okay, so now that we have these colors set up here, we can hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I can press A to deselect there, make sure I'm on face select. I can hover here. I can then press L again to select this. Then with this color here, I can just click assign, and then you'll see this color come on there. I'll press A to deselect. I'll hover here. Zoom back some. I'll hover here. And then I'll press L. So then I'll click this material here, which is the color that we use for this tire color. So then I'll click assign here, and now you can see that color goes on. So then I'll press A to deselect. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to click here. We're going to go to object mode. We're going to click on our car. We're then going to click here and then click here to go to edit mode for our car. Okay, to focus just on the car, we're going to click on our navigation tab, see where it says view global/local. We're going to click here. Now we're going to go to our modifier tab. We're going to click here to temporarily turn off the modifier for mirror or turn off the visibleness of it anyway. We'll do the same thing here. Now we'll hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. We did this to have easier access to some of the parts of the car that would be harder to get to if we didn't do this. At least that's what I think. Okay, so we're going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. It's spun, so normally hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm going to hold control on the middle mouse button to zoom in. I'm going to go to edge select. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to hold control on the middle mouse button to zoom in. I'm going to hold alt, then try to click that edge right there. I succeeded. So now I'm going to zoom out by holding the middle mouse button. Now I'm going to hold control, hold shift and middle mouse button to pan, hold control, hold shift and middle mouse button to pan, hold control. And I'm going to hold shift. I'm holding shift so I don't lose the other edge that I still have selected. You can't see. I'm going to hold alt to try to go around the whole edge loop. So now I'm zooming back. I'm holding the middle mouse button to rotate. But because I have that edge loop selected, it's difficult to see. You can see a small portion of it there. With that edge selected, it should be going all the way around here. I'm going to press the V key and then right click. Now the V key separates geometry. So with that edge selected, it should have separated everything that's on one side of the edge from everything on the other side of the edge. The reason why I did that is that makes things easy to select, because I should be able to just hold here now and press L. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this material tab. This is our regular material here. So we see the two pluses. We want to click the right plus right here and then click new here. So now we have this material that we can change without affecting the rest of the material here. Okay, what I'm going to do now is press A to deselect. I'm going to click this plus to the right. I'm going to click new. I'm going to click diffuse, change this to mix shader. I'm going to select for the first shader, glossy, change this to sharp. For the second shader, I'm going to select glossy. Then I'm going to change this to Beckman. Okay, now I'm going to hover here, press L. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm going to hold shift, then click here. Here, I'm still holding shift, and I'm going to click here. I'm letting go of shift, now I'm going to click assign. Then I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to click here. We're going to select mix shader. We're going to go to this top shader. We're going to click glossy BSDF. We're going to click where it says GGX, click there, change that to sharp. We're going to go to the second shader, click glossy BSDF where it says GGX. We're going to click here. We're going to change this to Beckman. Then we're going to click here and then take this not all the way down, but make this a very dark gray, almost black. And then with that done, we're going to make sure we're on phase select. We're going to hover here, press L. We're going to hover here, then press L. And then with this selected here, we're going to click assign. And now here, rotate the view. You can see that right there. Okay, now that we have this colored, it's easier for us to just press H and hide that. That'll actually make it easier for us to work as we continue to color. Okay, now we're going to roll the mouse back. We're going to hold Shift and middle mouse button to pan. Roll the middle mouse button to zoom in. Okay, we're going to roll the mouse wheel back. Roll in. We're going to press C for paint select. We're going to select this right here. This right here. This here. This here. I'm going to right click. Zoom in. I'm going to hold Shift. I'm going to click here as well. I'm going to hold them in the mouse button to rotate. I'm going to hold Shift as I select here. I press C for paint select. Select here. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select and roll the mouse wheel back. Hold them in the mouse button. Okay, now I'm going to click here. Then I'm going to click Assign. Okay. So now I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here to go to the back view. Okay, I'm going to hold Shift. I'm going to click here. I'm going to let go of Shift. I'm going to click here to temporarily take away my manipulator. I'm going to click all here. Here, 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 as well as here. I'm going to click here, then click Assign. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel back. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan the view. I'm going to press C. Paint all right there. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to hold Control and the middle mouse button to zoom in. Click here. 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 Here, as well as here. As well as here. Here, as well as here, as well as here. And then go Shift. I'm going to click here and then click Assign. I'm now going to press H to hide that geometry. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to click here. Zoom in. I'm going to hold Shift and middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to click here, 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 as well as here. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to zoom in. I'm just holding Shift and clicking these different faces. I'm going to zoom in, hold Shift and the mouse button to pan. I'm going to click here and then click Assign. Okay, I'm going to hold Shift and click here as well, then click here, then click Assign. Now I'm going to press H to hide. Okay, I can see we still have this here. So I'm going to click here, then click Assign. I'm then going to press H to hide. I'm going to zoom back. I'm going to hold shift and middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to click here. I'm going to click new. I'm going to click here, select mix shader. I'm going to click here and then select transparent BSDF. I'm then going to click here and select glossy. I'm going to click here and change this to Beckman. I'll click here and change this to a very dark gray, almost black. Now I'm going to click here, hold shift and click here, here, here. Hold shift and middle mouse button to pan, click here, here as well. I'm now going to click here and then click assign. So now we can see this is super transparent. So what we want is to make the glossy come in more. So we'll take this up. We'll also, the darker this is, the more transparent we have. So we'll make this up. Let's actually make this down. I'm going to click this Beckman. I'm going to change this to sharp. Yeah, I like that better. So we'll lower this down. Something like that. Okay, now we'll press H to hide that geometry there. Okay, what we're going to do now is press A to select everything. We're going to click here, click new, click here, click mix shader, click here, select glossy, change this from GGX to sharp. We'll click here, change this to glossy, click here, change this to Beckman. We'll then click assign. Okay, we'll click here and then click here to turn the mirror modifier back on. We'll hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to zoom in here. We'll hold the middle mouse button here. We're going to go to our mix shader here. We're going to press A to deselect here. We're going to click the plus to the right, click new. We're going to click here and change this to emission. We'll click here and change this to a very light blue, greenish color. We'll hold shift while holding alt. We'll click here. Then we'll click assign. Okay, we'll come here. We'll hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. We're going to click here as well as here. We'll click here. Then we'll click assign. Okay, we'll click back on our modifier button. We'll click here to turn the subdivision surface back on. Oops, I'm going to right click, grabbing that. Just taking a look at it. Okay, I need to click here, hold shift and click here as well as here. As well as here. I think as well as here. I'll let go of shift. I'm going to click here. Looking for the transparent. There we go. I'll click assign. That's better. Okay, I'm going to press A to deselect. I think the glossiness is too much here. So I'm going to click on here. I'm going to change this from glossy BSDF to diffuse. And I think that does it better. And then what we can do is make the diffuse come even more by sliding this up. So now it has the diffuse, but it's not so much now. Okay, I'm going to hold shift and the mouse button to pan. I'm going to make a geometry change. So I'm going to click here, and click here. Hold shift and click here. Zoom in. I'm going to hold shift and click here as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here to bring back our manipulator. I'm looking right here. I'm going to pull this to the side some. Like that. Now I'm going to hold control, and then while holding control I'm going to press B. I'm going to hold shift and then pull. Then I'm going to left click. This is our bevel menu here. I'm going to change this 0.5 to 1 and then press enter. I'm going to change the segments to 2 by clicking here. And now I have this edge right here that I like. Take this out a little more here. I'll click here. I'll go to phase select. I'll click here, here, and push this back like that. Then I'll press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold shift and the mouse button to pan. I think I have to reselect here. It does. I think by accident I made this so that it wasn't isn't black anymore. I'm going to press C for paint select, hold the middle mouse button and deselect here. Roll the mouse wheel to zoom out. Okay, I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to hold shift and the mouse button to pan. I'm going to press C for paint select and paint this here. I'm going to right click the other paint select, hold shift and click here. I'm going to click here. Don't want that one. Now click here. And I'm going to click assign. So that is black. It's just so shiny that you barely can see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here. This is kind of cool. I'm going to click new, right? I'm going to click on this, and I'm clicking here because this has glossy, sharp, as well as the diffuse, and I want that on this color. But I don't want, if I just take this color and select this, and then I try to make this black, then the white will change. However, if I make a new color, right, like I did right here, I click this color, and you can see it's clicked. It's highlighted blue. What I can do now is click here, click copy material, click on my new material, then click here, and then click paste material. So now I have a new color that's made up of this color. However, when I change this color, it won't affect this color here. Okay, I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to click here. I'm going to click here to go to right view. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to pan, as well as shift. I'm holding shift and middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to press N to take away that properties panel. I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to click here, 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 as well as here. Then I'm going to let go of shift. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to click here, as well as here. I'm going to let go of shift. Okay, so now I'm going to click here. I'm then going to click here. I'm going to take this color down to a dark gray, almost black. I'm then going to click assign. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to click front view. I'm going to zoom back. I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to hover here, then I'm going to hold shift and press B. Draw a zoom box to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift and middle mouse button to pan. Holding shift and middle mouse button to pan again. I'm going to press C for paint select. Select this geometry here. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select. I'm going to click here and then click there so I can see. A little bit easier. I'm going to hold shift. Hold the mouse while I zoom in. Hold shift again. Holding shift again. Holding the middle mouse button to rotate it. Holding shift and the middle mouse button to pan. Holding shift to click here. Holding shift again. Okay, so now I'm going to click on materials. And click here. Then I'm going to click assign. And I want this one. I thought I wanted that one, but I want the transparent. So let's click here and now we'll click assign again. I want this definitely to be more transparent looking. So what we can do is I don't want to change this here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here, click new, go up to where the transparent one is, which is there. I'm going to click here, click copy material, go down here, click here, click paste material. Okay, and now that we have that, I should be able to click here, raise this color up. Click assign. Okay, I can see what's going on, so I'll bring it down somewhat. Here, raise that up, something like that. Zoom in some. Yeah, I like that. Okay, we're going to press A to deselect. We're going to click here to make a new material. We're going to click here on new. We're going to click here, the material we just made. We're going to click here, click copy, click here, and then click paste material. Now for this material, what we're going to do is we're going to click here and make this an orangish color. We're going to click here for back view, zoom back, hold the middle mouse button to rotate. Okay, we're going to hold Alt. While holding Alt, we're going to press H to unhide our geometry. We're going to press A to deselect with face select on. We're going to press C for paint select and select right here. We're going to right click to get out of paint select. We're going to press E to extrude, right click to keep the geometry in place. We're going to pull back like that. I'm going to hold Control and the middle mouse button to zoom in. I'm going to hold Shift as well as Alt, then click right here. Okay. If we want to take this and select this easily again, one of the things we can do is press Y. So I separated that geometry, right? So I'm going to press A to deselect it, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Shift as well as Alt. I'm going to click here to select around here. I'm going to hold Control. While holding Control, I'm going to press B. I'm going to hold Shift, pull slightly. I'm going to left click. I let go of Shift. Where this says Profile 0.5, I'm going to click here. I'm going to press 1 and then Enter. Where it says Segment, I'm going to click here and change this to 2. I'm now going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here to go to Face Select. I'm going to hover here, press L, and then with this selected, I'm going to click Assign. So with this material assigned to here, what I should be able to do is press A to select everything. Then I can press W to bring up our specials menu. I can then select remove doubles. And then we see these vertices are selected. So now this, where I could just select it before, now when I press L, it's reselected. So that's a nice tip to know. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate to take a look here. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. Zoom in. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Okay, this right here is that super shiny, so I'm going to hold Shift, select this, hold the middle mouse button to take a look. Clicking all here, as well as here, 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 here. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button. Clicking here as well, letting go of Shift, clicking here, looking for the one that has diffuse, this one. So I'll click Assign, much better. Okay, I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here to see our different modifiers. I'm going to click here to see the visible effects of the subdivision surface modifier. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan more. I'm going to click here to go to Edge Select. I'm going to hold Shift as well as Alt. I'm going to click here as well as here. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan the view. I'm going to hold Control as well as the middle mouse button to zoom back. With this edge selected, I'm going to take the manipulator and pull to the side some. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to hold Control and the middle mouse button to zoom back. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Hold Control and the middle mouse button to zoom back. Hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan the view. Okay, I'm going to click here to hide the visible effects of our subdivision surface modifier. I'm going to click here to go to Face Select. I'm going to click here, hold shift, click here. I'm going to press H to hide this geometry. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. With our face select on, I'm going to hover here. I'm going to press L. I'm then going to hover here, then press L. I'm going to go to our material tab. I'm going to click here. This is our glossy as well as our diffuse. Dark gray color, almost black. I'm going to click assign. I'm then going to hold Alt. While holding Alt, press H to unhide our geometry here. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to click here, go to object mode. We're in local mode, so we're going to click here to go out of local mode. We're going to click here, go to edit mode. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan, then roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. I'm going to click here, then click here to turn off the visible effects of our subdivision surface modifier. I'm going to click here, hold shift, here, 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 as well as there. I'm going to press X, which brings up our delete menu. I'm going to choose faces to delete. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to let go of shift. I'm going to click here, hold shift, then click here, 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 as well as here. I'm going to press X, which brings up our delete menu. I'm going to choose faces to delete. Okay, I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to click here. I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to press D. I'm going to right click to get that geometry to stay in place. I'm going to pull this out like this. I'm going to press S to scale. Pull the mouse to blow this up some. I'm going to press E to extrude. Right click to get the geometry to stay in place. I'm going to push this back some like that. I'm going to hover over this. I'm going to press L. I'm going to hold control, then press N because the normals didn't look right. Because I could tell from the shading not being right. I'm going to click here. I'm going to press A to deselect. So I'm on edge select. I'm going to hold shift. While holding shift, I'm going to click that edge, then this edge. I'm going to hold control. While holding control, I'm going to press B. I'm going to hold shift, pull, then left click to lock that in. I'm going to let go of shift. I'm going to click here and change this profile to 1, then press enter. I'm going to go to where this says segments 1. I'm going to change this to 2. I'm going to click here to go to face select. I'm going to hover here. I'm going to press L to select this object, the whole thing. I'm going to take the manipulator to push this back. I'm going to press S to scale this up. I'm going to left click to have that scale be set in. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. I'm going to hold shift. While holding shift, I'm going to press D to duplicate. I'm going to right click to get that to stay in place, that being the duplicate. I'm going to click here to go to right view. I'm going to hold shift and middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to take the manipulator to move the duplicate in place. I'm going to hover here, hold shift, press B. I'm going to draw a zoom box to zoom in here. I'm going to take the manipulator and move this duplicate in place. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold control in the middle mouse button, zoom back. I'm letting go of the middle mouse button, still holding control. Holding the middle mouse button, dragging my mouse down. Now I'm letting go of control. I'm holding shift and middle mouse button to pan. I'm holding control as well as the middle mouse button while dragging down again. Holding the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm holding shift and the middle mouse button to pan the view. I'm now clicking this eye, which is going to turn back on the visible effects of our subdivision surface. And that is for the tires. I'm going to click here, go to object mode, click here, then click here to turn on the visible effects of our subdivision surface modifier for our car. Okay, if you see these bright spots right here, these are commonly called fireflies when you're in the Psycho's renderer. Sometimes you'll see these. To get rid of them, if you click here, I'm going to hover here, pull this over. If I scroll down, see where this says clamp direct. If I click here and then put in 2, then click here and then put in 3, typically that will get rid of those fireflies. If I click on light paths And then look right here where it says filter glossy. If I click here and put in 0.48 and then press enter, typically that deals with the fireflies very well. I'm not sure who I learned that from. That might have been Andrew Price from Blender Guru, who I learned that from. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hover here. I'm going to left click and drag this over. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan down. I'm going to hold shift, press Z. I'm going to click here. I'm going to click here on our material tab. I'm going to click new. Where we have the fuse BF, we have the fuse BSDF here. I'm going to click here. Then I'm going to change this to a blue color. Now I'm going to hold shift, press Z. And now we can see the color on our plane there. Okay guys, that's it for the tutorial. For all of those of you out there who like the videos on this channel and reshare them, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And to those of you who are new to this channel, if you like the videos on this channel and you would like to see more, please subscribe, and thank you for viewing.